If you are lying back now, ready to drift into sleep, imagine with me the quiet ground beneath your home, your garden, or even the pavement of a city street. Beneath those surfaces, in shadows and secret passages, lives a world so intricate and alive that it has thrived for over 100 million years. It is the world of ants, small creatures that have walked the earth long before humans, long before our cities, and even long before the great dinosaurs disappeared. At first glance, ants may seem like nothing more than tiny dots, crawling endlessly in lines. You see them moving with surprising determination, their bodies glistening under the sunlight, carrying crumbs many times their own size. Yet, when you slow down and pay attention, their lives begin to reveal themselves, not as random scurrying, but as a carefully woven tapestry, one of the most organized societies nature has ever created. Tonight, I want to take you into that hidden kingdom, a place where each individual is small and fragile, but together, they form a civilization as vast and as structured as our own. They build towering cities beneath the soil, wage wars across the forest floor, raise livestock, and even practice farming long before humans thought to do the same. Each ant knows its role as if born with a destiny, and every movement connects seamlessly to the colony's collective will. It is no exaggeration to call them a living superorganism. Many bodies, but one mind. If you close your eyes for a moment, picture yourself shrinking down to their scale. You stand at the edge of a meadow, where grass blades rise like towering trees, and each droplet of dew gleams like a crystal sphere. There, at your feet, a line of ants marches with tireless resolve. They are explorers, farmers, soldiers, and caretakers. Some carry pieces of leaves larger than themselves. Others guard the path with sharp jaws, while a few dart back and forth, leaving invisible trails of scent for the rest to follow. What looks like chaos is, in truth, a rhythm, the steady heartbeat of an ancient civilization. Ants are not newcomers. They are among Earth's oldest survivors. Their lineage stretches back more than 100 million years, to a time when continents looked different. When the world was warm and humid, and when giant lizards ruled the skies. The ants saw those great reptiles vanish. They endured ice ages, rising seas, and continents tearing apart. Through it all, they survived, adapting, evolving, and multiplying into the thousands of species we see today. Think of that. When a dinosaur lifted its head toward the stars, ants were already alive beneath its massive feet, carving out lives in the soil. And long after the mighty creatures fell silent, ants remained. They remind us that survival does not always belong to the strongest or the largest, but often to the smallest and most united. Perhaps what is most soothing to consider is how ants embody cooperation. Unlike predators that rely on solitary strength, or creatures that fight to stand above the rest, ants thrive because they move as one. Every grain of soil they carry, every seed they protect, every battle they fight, is not for the self but for the colony. The individual is small, but the group becomes unstoppable. As you listen to these words and feel the rhythm of your own breath, imagine the countless tunnels that stretch below ground. Hidden roads, chambers, and storage rooms where ants live, sleep, and raise their young. Some tunnels stretch deeper than an entire house is tall. Some lead to gardens of fungus, carefully tended by worker ants. Others lead to nurseries, where tiny larvae are cleaned and fed. And at the very heart of this underground palace rests the queen, the mother of thousands, sometimes millions, of lives. But tonight, our journey is only beginning. Over the course of this story, we will uncover 100 truths about these remarkable beings. We will walk with their soldiers into battle, step into their farms, listen to their silent conversations through scents and vibrations, and marvel at the strange ways they shape the natural world. We will discover their architecture, their wars, their friendships with trees and insects, and even their mysterious secrets that science has not yet explained. As the world grows quiet around you, and the weight of the day begins to soften, let this story become a gentle path into rest. Ants may be small, but they hold lessons about unity, endurance, and resilience. In their tiny footsteps, we find echoes of something greater. The reminder that strength is born not only in size, but in connection, in purpose, and in working together. So, settle in. Let your eyes grow heavy. And as you drift closer to sleep, imagine the soil beneath your bed, alive with quiet activity. An entire civilization unfolding in miniature. Tonight, we open the gates to that world, where ancient warriors still march, unseen yet ever present. This is the beginning of our journey into the hidden life of ants, a story both strange and soothing, powerful and small. When you step outside on a warm afternoon and glance down at the earth, perhaps you notice a small crack in the soil. From that tiny opening, a few ants emerge, moving swiftly yet carefully. You watch one, then another, and then another. Before long, you see dozens of them, each carrying some task upon its fragile body. What you are glimpsing is only the smallest tip of something extraordinary, an entire kingdom hidden beneath your feet. An ant colony can range in size from a few hundred individuals to sprawling nations of millions. Imagine a small village where everyone knows one another, compared with a great metropolis where endless crowds fill the streets. Ant colonies are just as varied. In some forests, you may find a modest nest, a quiet cluster of chambers carved out of soil, home to a few hundred ants living in relative peace. But elsewhere, stretching beneath deserts, jungles, and even city gardens, there exist colossal societies, populations that rival human cities, with layers of tunnels and chambers buzzing with life. To picture it clearly, let us imagine that the earth beneath us were suddenly made of glass. Beneath the surface, you would see roads of soil winding like hidden highways, chambers glowing softly with life, and ants flowing through them like rivers. In the nursery chambers, hundreds of pale larvae rest in neat clusters. In the food storage chambers, seeds and leaves are stacked like treasures. In the queen's chamber, silence reigns, as she rests at the center of it all, her body larger than the others, slowly giving life to the colony with every egg she lays. In a small colony, life moves at a slower pace. The ants are fewer, their tasks simpler, their territory modest. But in a large colony, the hum of activity never ceases. Thousands of workers move in and out, carrying food, digging new tunnels, guarding entrances, or caring for the young. The ground above may seem still, but beneath, the earth vibrates with purpose. Scientists have marveled at how such societies organize themselves. There is no leader giving daily commands, no overseer directing traffic. And yet, somehow, each ant knows what to do. Their order comes from instinct, from signals exchanged through scent and touch, from a shared understanding written into their very bodies. To human eyes, it seems like magic. How can so many tiny creatures act in harmony without speaking a single word? It is in this harmony that their strength lies. A lone ant is fragile, vulnerable to the smallest breeze or the lightest drop of rain. But together, ants become something far greater. They defend their home, raise their young, and even change the landscape around them. In great numbers, they can strip leaves from trees, move soil to create mounds taller than a person's height, and build colonies that stretch for kilometers. If you were to place your ear gently against the earth, you might imagine hearing the faint rustle of countless feet, the soft whisper of a society in motion. They do not rest together, nor do they pause all at once. Day and night, summer and winter, the colony continues, a living heart that beats without ceasing. It is a strange thought. Beneath our every step, invisible to us, civilizations flourish. They do not have monuments or libraries, but they carry a memory written in their behavior, a wisdom passed through generations for more than 100 million years. Each ant colony is like a city, a kingdom, and sometimes an empire. From the smallest gathering to the largest swarm, they remind us that greatness does not always require size. Sometimes, it grows from connection. As you breathe slowly now, imagine yourself shrinking once again, walking down into that underground city. You step into chambers warm and earthy, lit only by shafts of filtered light that slip through cracks above. All around you, ants hurry past, their antennae brushing gently against one another, their bodies shining like tiny jewels in the dimness. Though you do not speak their language, you feel their rhythm, the pulse of a community where no one is alone. This is the essence of an ant society, a hidden kingdom, ancient and enduring, where every life has meaning because it belongs to something larger. As the night deepens around you, let that image soothe you that even in silence and darkness, beneath the quiet earth, a civilization thrives with unwavering harmony. At the center of every ant colony, hidden deep within the earth, lies a chamber unlike any other. It is quiet here, dim, and carefully protected. The air carries the faint warmth of countless bodies moving outside. Yet in this chamber, all is calm. This is the Queen's chamber, the heart of the colony, where life begins and where the pulse of an entire society is renewed each day. The queen ant is unlike her workers or soldiers. Her body is larger, her form more robust, and her life dedicated to a single, unwavering task: the creation of new life. She does not forage for food, nor does she defend the colony in battle. Instead, she becomes the mother of thousands, sometimes millions, of ants who will one day walk the earth above. Without her, the colony fades. With her, it flourishes. To understand her role, picture the colony as a great tree. The workers are the leaves, catching sunlight and carrying out endless tasks. The soldiers are the branches, strong and protective. But the queen is the root unseen, deep below, yet essential to everything that grows above. From her flows the future of the colony. From her body emerge the eggs that will become the next generation of workers, soldiers, and in time, new queens and males who may carry her lineage further. In many species, a single queen rules the colony, her presence commanding loyalty through invisible signals, pheromones that guide the workers. But in other species, the story is more complex. There may be 2 queens, or 3, or in some cases, dozens. Together, they share the burden of motherhood, turning the colony into a supercharged society, overflowing with life. And yet, even in these shared thrones, harmony is fragile, for queens may sometimes compete, and their coexistence is a delicate balance. The queen's life begins in flight. On a warm day, when conditions are perfect, virgin queens and males take to the skies in what is called. Thousands rise into the air, wings glistening in the sunlight, scattering across the sky like living sparks. It is a dangerous journey, filled with predators waiting to strike. Many never return. But for those who survive, the union that takes place in the air seals their fate. The males, fragile and short-lived, will die soon after mating. The young queens, heavy now with life, descend to the earth, shed their wings, and begin the long labor of founding a new colony. Imagine her first moments underground. She digs a small chamber with her mandibles. Alone in the dark soil, there she rests, nourished only by the reserves of her own body, and lays her first precious eggs. She tends them herself, cleaning, guarding, and waiting for them to hatch. These first offspring become the workers who will, in time, care for her, feed her, and expand the nest. From that moment onward, the queen rarely sees the surface again. Her world is shadows and silence, yet through her, life endlessly flows. A queen's reign can last years, even decades. Some species see their queens live more than 20 or 30 years, an eternity compared to the fleeting days of a worker or the brief hours of a male. In her long life, she may lay millions of eggs, ensuring the survival of her people long after the ground has shifted, after rains have washed the soil, after predators have come and gone. She is a living thread between past and future. The workers treat her with reverence. They feed her, groom her, and protect her with their lives. Their loyalty is not born of choice, but of instinct, an unbreakable bond woven into their very nature. In the quiet of the nest, they gather around her, ensuring she is never alone. If danger threatens, soldiers block the entrances, forming walls of living bodies to guard their mother. To the ants, the queen is more than an individual. She is the embodiment of the colony itself. As you listen, let this image settle in your mind. A great chamber in the earth, dimly lit by shafts of filtered light, where the queen rests, surrounded by her daughters. Her presence is steady, patient, eternal. She does not rush, for her life flows not in hours, but in years. Outside, workers scurry endlessly, soldiers fight and die, and the seasons change. But deep inside, the queen remains the quiet heart that keeps the colony alive. There is a gentle lesson here, whispered by the ants. Not all power comes from movement or strength. Some power comes from stillness, from persistence, from the quiet act of giving life. The queen may never lift a stone or cut a leaf, but through her, millions thrive. She is proof that even in the smallest and darkest of chambers, one life can shape the destiny of countless others. As the night deepens, let the thought of the queen soothe you. Imagine her resting beneath the earth, calm and unhurried, surrounded by loyalty and purpose. Her story reminds us that there is beauty in patience, strength in quietness, and a kind of majesty even in the unseen. And as you drift further into rest, you carry with you the image of this hidden heart, the queen in the darkness, breathing life into her kingdom with every passing day. If the queen is the heart of the colony, then the workers are its hands and feet, its eyes and voice, the quiet force that makes life possible. They are not born to rule, nor to fight, nor to pass on their lineage. Instead, they are born to serve, and in their service lies the strength of the entire kingdom. Every worker ant is female. And though she will never know the role of motherhood, she devotes her life fully to the care of others. Picture them moving along their endless paths, small, tireless bodies weaving in and out of the nest, carrying fragments of food, grains of soil, or drops of water. Each step is purposeful, no motion is wasted. While the queen rests hidden in her chamber, the workers keep the colony alive. They dig the tunnels, they feed the larvae, they nurse the young, they guard the gates, and they forage into the wide, dangerous world above. Their lives are not their own, yet in surrendering themselves to the whole, they become part of something enduring. A single worker ant may live only weeks or months, depending on her species. To us, such a life seems fleeting. Yet during that time, she will touch every corner of the colony's existence. In the early days of her life, she often begins close to home, tending to the youngest larvae in the nursery chambers. She cleans them, moves them carefully from place to place, and feeds them drops of nourishment. As she grows older and stronger, she takes on new roles, building and repairing tunnels, carrying food, guarding the entrances, and finally, venturing out as a forager into the open world. In this rhythm, there is a gentle beauty. Imagine the dark tunnels beneath the soil, a line of workers carrying seeds like treasures, passing them from one to another, as if handing gifts along an invisible chain. Imagine the nursery, where hundreds of tiny larvae are gathered, their pale bodies shining softly as workers cradle them and brush them with delicate care. Imagine the surface above, where long trails of ants march steadily across fields and forests, guided by invisible scent trails, each worker finding her place in the moving river of life. Though they will never reproduce, the workers are mothers in spirit. Every larva raised, every chamber dug, every leaf carried is an act of devotion, not for themselves but for the colony. And in this devotion lies a quiet strength. Their service is not glamorous, not honored with titles or glory, but it sustains life in ways that nothing else can. Without them, the queen's eggs would wither, the colony's walls would collapse, the society would crumble, but with them, the colony becomes immortal. There is also courage in their labor. Foraging workers face dangers at every turn: predators, floods, fire, and the unpredictable force of the world above. Yet they venture out without hesitation, They move in long lines, some carrying burdens 10, 20, even 50 times their weight. To us, it would be like lifting a tree and walking for miles, all while keeping in perfect rhythm with the thousands around you. And yet, for the worker, this is simply life. Not an act of heroism, not an act of pride, only the quiet fulfillment of duty. In watching the workers, scientists and poets alike have drawn lessons. They show us that greatness does not always come from standing out, but from fitting into something larger than oneself. They teach us that service, though often unseen, is the foundation of every lasting structure. And they remind us that even the smallest hands can move mountains when they work together. Close your eyes now, and imagine yourself as one of them. You move through narrow tunnels, the scent of earth surrounding you, the soft touch of your sister's antennae, brushing past as you cross paths. You carry a seed larger than your own body, but the weight feels light, for you know it is not only for you. You know it will feed the colony, and that is enough. You follow the faint trace of pheromones left by others, a path invisible but certain, guiding you home. Around you, countless others walk beside you, each carrying, each building, each giving. And in this steady rhythm, there is no fear, no doubt, only belonging. As the night wraps gently around you, let the story of the workers settle like a lullaby. Their lives may be brief, their names unspoken, their deeds unseen, but together they form the silent backbone of their world. In their endless devotion, they show us that strength can be quiet, that meaning can be found in service, and that even the smallest of lives, given fully, can shape something vast and enduring. In the great theater of the colony, every life has its stage, every role its meaning. Beyond the queen who gives life, beyond the workers who sustain it, there exist two other castes, the soldiers and the drones. They live short, stark lives, each one defined by extremes, one by strength and defense, the other by fragility and sacrifice. Let us begin with the soldiers. If you picture the colony as a living fortress, then the soldiers are its walls, its shields, and its sharp edges. Their bodies are larger, their heads wider, their mandibles long and powerful. Some are so specialized that they seem more like weapons than animals. Their task is simple and absolute: protect the colony at all costs. When danger comes, a rival colony, a predator, or even the probing curiosity of some wandering creature, it is the soldiers who rush to the front. They form barricades at tunnel entrances, standing shoulder to shoulder, their bodies forming living gates. If an intruder pushes through, they attack without hesitation, jaws snapping, stingers striking, sometimes releasing venom that burns like fire. Their sacrifice is certain, for they know no fear and seek no retreat. In their deaths, the colony lives. To us, such loyalty might seem extraordinary. To them, it is simply life. Some soldier ants grow so massive in comparison to their sisters that their heads alone can block an entrance, sealing it like a natural door. Others wield jaws capable of cracking seeds or cutting through the exoskeletons of enemies. In the vast diversity of ants, soldiers appear in many forms, but their essence is always the same: defense. They are the silent guardians, bred for strength, born to fight, and destined to die in service of their home. And then there are the drones, the males of the colony. Their existence is fleeting, almost fragile when compared to the endurance of the queen or the tireless devotion of the workers. Drones are born with one purpose only: to mate with a young queen during the nuptial flight. They carry within them the spark that will ensure the colony's future. But once that spark is given, their lives end swiftly. Imagine their final journey. On a warm day, when the air is alive with possibility, they rise into the sky alongside young queens. Their wings beat quickly, carrying them into a shimmering swarm. In that brief, desperate flight, they find a mate, transfer life, and then fall away. Their bodies grow weak, and soon they perish. They will never return to the colony, never taste the soil of home again. Their entire lives, however short, have led to this single moment, and in that moment, they fulfill their destiny. It is striking, isn't it? The contrast between the soldiers and the drones. One exists to fight, to endure, to stand until death for the colony. The other lives only to give. Then, yet both are equally necessary. Without soldiers, the colony would be overrun, its queen and young destroyed. Without drones, no new colony could ever be born. Each, in their own way, carries a piece of the colony's survival. As you think of them now, imagine a tunnel where soldiers stand, mandibles open, their shadows stretched long in the dim light. Behind them, deeper in the nest, workers rush to protect the queen, to move larvae to safety. Above the ground, the air swirls with wings as drones and young queens dance their brief, ancient dance of life. In this harmony of battle and love, of defense and sacrifice, the colony endures. There is a quiet lesson hidden here, one that lingers even as your eyes grow heavy. The soldiers remind us of courage, of standing firm. When danger comes, the drones remind us that some lives, however short, can carry immeasurable meaning when devoted to their purpose. Neither life is wasted, for each contributes to the whole. Perhaps that is what makes the world of ants so soothing to imagine. Every role has its place, every life its meaning, no matter how long or short. Together they weave a story that has lasted millions of years, a story of strength, of sacrifice, and of harmony. So, as you breathe slowly and let the weight of the day drift away, picture those unseen guardians, those fleeting lives, all working in silent unity beneath the earth. And remember that even the smallest, shortest life can carry an eternal purpose. When we imagine the colony as a hidden kingdom, it becomes clear that its structure is not unlike that of a monarchy. Deep below the earth, the queen rests in her chamber, revered and protected, much like a sovereign sitting upon a throne. Around her are her loyal subjects, workers who serve tirelessly, soldiers who guard with their lives, and drones who carry forward the lineage. It is a world where every being knows its place, and every action serves the stability of the whole. In human history, kingdoms were often defined by hierarchy. There were rulers, advisors, warriors, and common folk. Each class had its duty, its expectations, and its boundaries. In the colony of ants, there is no crown, no palace of gold, no written law. Yet their system is even more absolute, more seamless than any human empire has ever achieved. Ants do not need to be told what to do, nor do they question their role. From the moment they emerge into the world, their destiny is etched within them. A worker will never lay eggs. A soldier will never forage for food. A queen will never dig tunnels or fight battles. And yet, together, they form a whole greater than any single life. If you could shrink yourself to their size and walk among them, you would feel the rhythm of this hierarchy all around you. Workers would brush past you, antennae quivering as they sense and communicate. Soldiers would loom larger, standing guard near the entrances, mandibles poised to defend. And at the very center, though hidden from view, the queen's presence would be felt like a steady heartbeat. Her pheromones drift through the tunnels, silent signals that shape the colony's behavior. She is not a ruler who commands with words, but her existence alone maintains order, balance, and identity. The hierarchy is not cruel, though to human eyes it may seem rigid. It is simply nature's design, perfected through millions of years. No ant envies another, no worker longs for the throne, no soldier dreams of foraging. Each role is filled with devotion, and in that devotion, peace. To the ants, unity is life, disorder is death. Some colonies, like monarchies of old, are ruled by a single queen. Her reign lasts for years, even decades, and the colony lives or dies with her. In her presence, order is maintained. When she weakens or dies, The colony often falters, workers wandering without direction, the society unraveling. But in other species, the design is more like a federation, where multiple queens share power. Here, the system resembles not a single throne, but a council, each queen contributing to the growth of the whole, though their coexistence is delicate. It allows the colony to expand faster, to reach numbers in the millions, to become not just a kingdom, but an empire. It is humbling in a way to consider how ants embody something that humans have strived for and rarely achieved: perfect cooperation. In our own histories, hierarchies often collapsed under ambition, greed, or betrayal. But in the world of ants, there is no betrayal, no uprising. The soldier never questions why it must fight. The worker never protests its endless labor. There is no need for persuasion, no struggle for power. Their unity is their survival, and so it has remained for more than 100 million years. As you listen now, let yourself picture this monarchy beneath the soil. Imagine a vast chamber glowing with life, tunnels radiating outward like the halls of a palace. Workers move swiftly, like attendants in service. Soldiers stand silent, like guards at a gate. The queen lies at the center, her presence invisible yet undeniable, her very being a crown that binds them together. There is no chaos here, no uncertainty, only the gentle hum of order. The lesson is soft but powerful. Every life has a place, and every place has meaning. In the human world, we often struggle to find where we belong, but in the colony of ants, belonging is never in question. It is written in every breath, every step, every heartbeat of the society itself. So, as you lie back now, breathing slowly, imagine the quiet monarchy of the ants continuing its steady rhythm beneath you. A world of order, of devotion, of harmony. A kingdom without gold or jewels, yet richer than many we have ever known. And let that thought soothe you that beneath the soil, there exists a world where unity reigns eternal. If an ordinary colony is a kingdom, then a super colony is an empire, vast, sprawling, and seemingly without end. In some species of ants, the structure of society expands beyond a single nest, beyond a single queen, beyond the boundaries of one home. Multiple colonies join together, bound not by walls of stone or borders of land, but by invisible ties of scent and recognition. What emerges is a federation, an alliance of nests, forming what we call a super colony. Imagine walking along a forest trail and seeing ants stretching as far as the eye can follow. You watch their line disappear beneath roots and reappear hundreds of steps later, still flowing in perfect rhythm. You may think these are separate colonies, different families with separate queens, but in truth, they belong to the same great federation. They do not fight one another. They do not mark borders. Instead, they cooperate, sharing resources and space, functioning as one vast society. The scale of some super colonies is almost beyond comprehension. In parts of Europe, scientists have documented super colonies of Argentine ants, stretching across thousands of kilometers, linking countless nests together. Imagine an empire spanning from one coast to another. Millions upon millions of individuals, all united, all moving with one mind. For humans, such unity would be impossible. For ants, it is simply another form of life. How do they achieve this? The secret lies in their chemical language. Each colony of ants has a unique scent, a chemical fingerprint that marks who belongs and who is an intruder. Normally, ants from different colonies fight the moment they meet, recognizing one another as strangers. But in a super colony, the chemical differences vanish. Ants from distant nests recognize each other as kin, as allies, as parts of the same whole. And so, instead of conflict, there is peace. Instead of war, there is cooperation. This cooperation gives them immense power. Where other colonies might fight and weaken themselves, super colonies grow without limit. They overwhelm native species, expand into new territories, and alter entire ecosystems. Their presence is so dominant that in some regions, they become the ruling force of the landscape, reshaping the balance of nature. They are not just survivors, they are conquerors, though their conquest is quiet, steady, and unseen by most human eyes. But there is also beauty in this unity. Picture a coastline where the waves crash endlessly against the rocks. Along that shore, line after line of ants moves without interruption, their trails glistening under the sunlight. Each one follows the scent of the other, never straying, never questioning. Each step, part of a greater pattern. It is as if the land itself breathes with them, as if the earth has chosen to wear a crown of movement. When we compare these federations to human history, the contrast is humbling. Our empires have risen and fallen, with wars, greed. Borders have shifted, rulers have changed, and alliances have fractured. But the ants' federations endure without treaties or words. Their empire is held together by instinct, by scent, by a bond so deep it requires no negotiation. For them, unity is not fragile, it is natural. There are those who wonder, what if ants were the size of humans? What if their super colonies spread across the world? Not just beneath our feet, but above the ground, towering over landscapes. Would they rival us in number, in structure, in power? It is an unsettling thought, yet one that reveals the hidden greatness of these tiny beings. They already outnumber us by unimaginable scales. They already shape the soil, the plants, the ecosystems we depend on. Their federations remind us that true strength lies not in size, but in connection. As you rest tonight, let the image of a super colony carry you further into calm. Picture millions of ants moving in harmony, a federation so vast it stretches beyond horizons, yet so quiet it hums beneath the soil without notice. They are like rivers beneath the earth, flowing without end, uniting countless lives into one shared destiny. And in their unity, there is a whisper of peace, a reminder that even in a world divided by conflict, cooperation can create something enduring, something greater than any single life. So breathe slowly now, and let that thought settle. Beneath us, unseen, empires thrive in silence. Empires without walls, without kings, without crowns, built not on conquest but on recognition. This is the world of ant federations, super colonies that remind us that unity, in its purest form, can stretch across the earth itself. In every society, there are those whose lives are devoted to defense. In the hidden kingdoms of ants, these defenders are armed, not with steel or stone, but with the weapons nature has gifted them. Mandibles as sharp as blades, stingers that burn like fire, and venom potent enough to ward off creatures hundreds of times their size. Though small, they are warriors, and their strength lies not only in their weapons but in their unity. Imagine for a moment kneeling by the side of a trail where ants march steadily. Most move calmly, carrying food or following the line of scent. Yet scattered among them are the soldiers, their heads wider, their mandibles open in silent readiness. They are ever watchful, scanning the world for danger. To us, they may look tiny and fragile, but within their realm, they are giants of courage, armed and prepared for battle. The bite of an ant may seem harmless at first glance, but for many species, it is a weapon of astonishing power. Some inject venom through their bites, a sting so sharp it is compared to burning embers pressed against the skin. Others strike with stingers, delivering toxins that cause waves of pain far greater than their size would suggest. The bullet ant, for instance, carries a sting known as one of the most painful in the animal kingdom. To those who encounter it, the sensation is described as fiery, unrelenting, like walking across hot coals. And yet, to the ant, it is not cruelty, it is protection, a shield for its home. Some ants do not rely on venom alone. They spray acid, clouds of formic vapor that cling to predators and intruders, burning their bodies, forcing them to retreat. In the forest, the sharp scent of this acid lingers in the air, a warning to all who dare approach. For those who defend the colony, every drop of venom, every spark of acid, is used not for themselves, but for the survival of the whole. Picture them in action. A predator, perhaps a spider, perhaps a rival ant from another colony, approaches the entrance of the nest. The alarm spreads invisibly, carried by pheromones. In an instant, soldiers rush forward. Their mandibles snap, their stingers rise, their bodies vibrate with urgency. The intruder does not face a single opponent, but a wall of living weapons, all united in purpose. To the enemy, it is overwhelming. To the colony, it is simply life continuing as it always has. What makes this even more remarkable is the scale of sacrifice. A soldier ant may fight knowing that its life will end in the struggle. Its body may be crushed, its stinger torn away, its mandibles broken. And yet, there is no hesitation. The colony's safety outweighs the individual's survival. This selflessness, repeated millions of times across millions of ants, is what makes their societies endure. The soldier's courage is not loud or celebrated. It is silent, instinctive, and absolute. But in their ferocity, there is also elegance. Watch a line of leafcutter ants, carrying their green banners through the forest. Among them march the guardians, jaws gleaming in the sunlight, ready to defend their sisters. There is no chaos, no noise, only a steady rhythm of movement, a silent promise that if danger comes, they will act. Their presence alone is enough to dissuade many intruders, for in their unity, even the smallest warriors seem vast. For humans, it is easy to marvel at such dedication. We build weapons of iron and fire, but ants carry their weapons within their very bodies. We write laws and train armies, but ants are born knowing their duty. In their world, there are no questions of loyalty, no doubts of purpose. Instead, they embody pure devotion, each sting, each bite, each drop of venom, a testament to their role as protectors. As you breathe softly now, imagine them guarding the tunnels beneath the soil. Their silhouettes stand like statues at the gates of an underground palace. The earth is quiet, the air heavy with the scent of life, and yet their vigilance never wavers. Should danger stir, they are ready, silent, unseen, but ever present. In this image, there is both power and calm. The reassurance that within the colony, guardians watch at every moment. The lesson is simple, but it echoes deeply. Strength does not always roar. Sometimes it waits in silence, sharp and steady, ready when needed. The soldiers of the ants remind us that true protection is not for the self, but for those we love, for the home we keep safe. Their lives may be small, but their courage is vast, and in that courage lies the enduring survival of their kind. So as the night deepens and your eyes grow heavy, let the thought of these quiet warriors bring you peace. Beneath the soil, unseen yet tireless, they stand guard, ensuring the colony's life continues. In their stillness and in their strength, there is a reminder, even the smallest of creatures can carry the greatest of responsibilities. In the grand world of ants, not all soldiers are the same. Just as human armies have archers, swordsmen, or guardians of different skill, the ant kingdom has its own variety of fighters, each shaped by nature to serve a unique purpose. Their bodies are their weapons, and evolution has crafted them into specialists of defense and attack. To watch them is to see a living armory, delicate in size yet powerful in design. Among the most striking are the so-called big-headed ants. Their heads are enormous compared to their bodies, and their mandibles are like crushing tools, perfectly suited for grinding seeds and defending narrow tunnels. Imagine a soldier stationed at the mouth of a chamber, its massive head plugging the entrance like a living shield. Nothing can pass without facing the crushing jaws that guard the way. To us, they look peculiar, almost comical, but to the colony, they are defenders of priceless strength. Then there are the bullet ants, infamous for their sting. To encounter one is to feel pain so intense that some describe it as fire coursing through the veins, as though lightning has struck and lingered in the skin. Indigenous peoples of the Amazon know this well. In some traditions, bullet ants are used in initiation rituals. Their stings endured as a test of courage. The sting does not kill, but its torment can last for hours, a fiery reminder of how even the smallest warrior can bring giants to their knees. Yet for the bullet ant, this weapon is not cruelty, it is necessity, a shield for the colony, a warning to all who might intrude. Other ants use chemical sprays as their chosen defense. Some release clouds of formic acid that cling to predators and sting their skin or exoskeletons. The air around their battles carries the sharp tang of this chemical, a scent that tells intruders they are not welcome. Some ants can eject these sprays with surprising precision, coating enemies and weakening them before soldiers rush in to finish the fight. And still others fight with numbers, relying not on venom or acid but on jaws, sharp as needles, mandibles slicing through leaves or skin. Leafcutter ants, though best known for their farming, can wield their jaws like scythes, cutting through material tougher than their size should allow. In the dim light of a forest, one can see them glistening, carrying fragments of green high above their heads, guardians who can also defend their sisters if danger arises. Perhaps the most extraordinary of all are the ants, whose very bodies become weapons of last resort. Some species turn themselves into living bombs. When cornered, they contract their muscles so tightly that their bodies rupture, releasing sticky or toxic substances that disable their enemies. It is the ultimate act of sacrifice, one life surrendered to save thousands. In the quiet darkness of the soil, such devotion happens without hesitation, without thought, only instinct. A reminder that in the ant world, the good of the many always outweighs the life of the one. If you close your eyes and imagine this armory of nature, you might see a parade of warriors. Some carry enormous heads like shields, others gleam with sharp jaws, others glow with the invisible fire of venom. They march silently, side by side, their weapons hidden within their bodies, their courage unshakable. To us, they are small, almost invisible. But to the colony, they are giants who hold the line against the chaos of the world outside. What makes their diversity so soothing to contemplate is the harmony within it. Though each soldier is different, each shaped for a unique task, together they form a seamless defense. There is no envy, no rivalry, no division. The big-headed ant does not wish for venom. The bullet ant does not long for a crushing jaw. Each plays its role with quiet certainty, and in that certainty, peace is found. As you breathe slowly now, imagine their silent vigil beneath the soil. Picture a tunnel lined with guardians, one plugging the entrance with its massive head, another waiting with stinger poised, another prepared to spray acid at the first sign of danger. Together, they are more than individuals. They are a wall of courage, an unbroken chain of protection. And as they stand ready, the colony continues to thrive, unaware of the world above, secure in the strength of its specialized fighters. The lesson is gentle, yet powerful. Diversity does not weaken a society, it strengthens it. Each unique skill, each unique gift, becomes a thread in the fabric of survival. The ants show us that when differences are embraced, when each life contributes its own strength, the whole becomes unshakable. So as the night deepens, let the thought of these tiny warriors soothe you. They are not loud, not boastful, not proud. They are quiet, patient, and strong in ways far beyond their size. And in their silence, they remind us that strength comes in many forms. Sometimes in jaws, sometimes in venom, sometimes in sacrifice. Always, it is in service of the whole. Among the many marvels of the ant world, perhaps none are more astonishing than the weapons they carry within their tiny bodies. Unlike humans, who craft tools and forge weapons of steel, ants are born already armed. Their defenses are woven into their muscles, their glands, their very skin. Some wield venom that burns like fire, others release clouds of acid, and a few even turn themselves into living bombs. These are not tools they choose to pick up or lay down. These are gifts of nature, carried with them from the moment they take their first steps. Consider, first, the formic acid spray of certain ants. In the still air of a forest, when an intruder approaches, defenders rush forward, their abdomens arching. With a sudden flick, they release a fine mist of acid, invisible to the eye but sharp to the senses. The air fills with a bitter tang, a chemical warning that lingers long after the intruder has fled. To predators, the sensation is overwhelming. Burning skin, stinging eyes, a lesson never to return. To the ants, it is simply instinct, an old weapon that has kept their societies safe for millions of years. Then there are the explosive ants, whose bodies hold a weapon of last resort. When surrounded or outmatched, they contract their muscles with such force that their bodies rupture, releasing a sticky, toxic fluid onto their enemies. It is a sacrifice, a final act of devotion, one life given so that many may live. Imagine the courage in such an act to destroy oneself for the colony, to become not just a soldier but a shield. Though silent and unseen, these moments of sacrifice echo the deepest truth of ant society. The self is small, but the whole is everything. Even the dead can serve as weapons. In some battles, fallen ants do not become waste but barriers. Their bodies lie across entrances, plugging tunnels, slowing enemies, becoming walls of flesh and armor. To us, this may seem grim. To the ants, it is necessity. The natural continuation of duty, life and death, sacrifice and service, all are threads in the tapestry of survival. Other ants carry weapons in their jaws, sharpened like scythes. With them, they slice leaves, pierce enemies, or defend trails with silent precision. In their mandibles, we see not just tools for cutting and carrying, but blades honed by evolution, blades that flash like silver in the forest light. When they come together in their thousands, these jaws can strip a tree bare or tear apart an animal far larger than themselves. As strange as these weapons may seem, there is a quiet beauty in them too. Each is perfectly suited to the life of the colony. Corpses form shields, jaws carve through danger, and venom keeps predators at bay. No weapon is chosen in greed or conquest. No weapon is used for glory. Each exists for one reason only: the protection of the colony, the survival of the whole. If you close your eyes and imagine this world, you may see an underground chamber where soldiers stand ready, their abdomens raised, prepared to spray acid at intruders. You may picture the shimmer of mandibles, sharp and waiting, or the silent bravery of a soldier, prepared to sacrifice itself in an explosion of devotion. Around them, the colony continues its rhythm. Workers carrying seeds, nurses tending to young, the queen resting in her chamber. All of it is possible because of the weapons that stand guard in the shadows. There is a lesson here, whispered gently in the soil. True power is measured in service, in sacrifice, in the willingness to protect others. The ants remind us that even the smallest life can carry immense strength when it is used not for self, but for something greater. As you breathe slowly now, let the thought of these natural weapons bring you calm. They are fierce, yes, but also purposeful. They remind us that even in struggle, there can be harmony. Even in battle, there can be balance. For the ants, every sting, every spray, every sacrifice is part of a larger story, a story of unity, endurance, and quiet resilience. And so, as the night deepens and your body grows heavier with rest, imagine the hidden guardians of the soil, carrying weapons forged not by fire but by time. Silent, small, and unseen, they protect their world with devotion beyond measure. In their tiny footsteps, we glimpse the strength of nature itself, fierce, selfless, and eternal. In the long history of life on Earth, survival has often depended not on size or strength alone, but on ingenuity. Ants, though tiny, have developed countless strategies to endure and to defend their hidden kingdoms. Their weapons are powerful, yes, venom, mandibles, acid, even explosive sacrifice. But equally remarkable are the clever tactics they employ, subtle tricks and quiet strategies that allow them to prevail against odds that seem insurmountable. One such tactic is the art of feigning death. When faced with an enemy too powerful to fight, some ants simply fall still, curling their legs inward, lying motionless as though lifeless. Predators, fooled by the act, lose interest and move on, leaving the ant unharmed. What seems like surrender is, in truth, survival. A reminder that sometimes the wisest action is not resistance. In the silence of stillness, life is preserved. Another tactic lies in the use of their fallen comrades. In the chaos of battle, the bodies of dead ants do not go to waste. Instead, they become shields. Soldiers pile them at the entrances of tunnels, turning lifeless forms into barricades that block intruders. To us, the image may seem grim, but to the ants, it is an act of necessity, even in death. The body serves the colony. It is a haunting yet beautiful truth. Life and death are woven together, each serving the whole in its own way. Perhaps most astonishing of all is the ability of ants to overwhelm creatures far larger than themselves. Alone, an ant could never hope to bring down a grasshopper, a lizard, or even a bird. But together, with coordination and persistence, they become a force of nature. They climb, they bite, they sting, and they pull until the giant falls. It is not violence for cruelty's sake, but for survival. A way to feed the colony, to protect the queen, to endure another day. To watch them is to see how unity transforms weakness into strength, how countless small lives can overcome the impossible. The courage of ants is quiet, but absolute. A soldier ant does not hesitate when an enemy approaches. It does not weigh the chances of victory or retreat. Its instinct is simple: fight for the colony. In that moment, its life is already given. It may fall in battle, its body torn or crushed, but its sacrifice buys time, buys safety, buys life for those behind it. And in the world of ants, that is enough. If you close your eyes and imagine a battlefield beneath the soil, you may see this unfolding. A predator forces its way into a tunnel. Soldiers rush forward, jaws snapping, abdomens raised. Some fall, their bodies forming walls. Others stand firm, stinging, biting, pushing back. One feigns death, only to rise again when the danger passes, rejoining the fight. And though many may fall, the colony survives. The queen remains safe. The rhythm of life continues. The battle is not fought for glory, nor for conquest, but simply for the right to go on. There is something soothing in these tactics. Despite their fierceness, they remind us that survival is not always about strength, but about wisdom, patience, and devotion. Sometimes it means standing firm. Sometimes it means lying still. Sometimes it means giving everything so that others may endure. The ants show us that there are many ways to face danger, many paths to resilience, and all are part of the story of life. As you breathe slowly now, let this thought settle in your mind. Beneath the quiet earth, strategies unfold with every heartbeat of the colony. Ants lying still to deceive predators. Ants turning the fallen into shields. Ants swarming together to topple giants. It is a dance of survival, silent and unseen, yet as ancient as the soil itself. And as you drift deeper into rest, take comfort in the lesson they offer, that even in the smallest lives there is courage. Even in stillness there is power. Even in sacrifice there is meaning. The ants remind us that no matter the challenge, there is always a way forward, always a tactic, always a chance to endure. Long before the first human carved a field into the earth, long before our ancestors planted seeds and harvested crops, another creature had already discovered agriculture. Hidden in the shadows of the soil, ants became farmers. For millions of years, they have cultivated food not in sunlit fields, but in the quiet darkness of their underground homes. It is one of nature's oldest and most remarkable stories. A civilization of insects learning to grow, tend, and harvest life beneath the ground. The farmers are the leafcutter ants, among the most extraordinary architects of the insect world. If you wander through a forest in Central or South America, you may see them. Long lines of ants carrying fragments of leaves high above their heads. Green sails moving across the forest floor. At first, it may seem they are gathering food to eat, but the truth is stranger. and far more fascinating. These leaves are not for the ants themselves. They are for the crops, gardens of fungus, nurtured and cultivated with care. Deep below, in chambers carved with patient labor, the ants lay the leaves upon carefully prepared beds. Workers chew them into pulp, spreading them across the soil. Upon this foundation, the fungus grows, fed and tended like a living treasure. It is not wild fungus, not an accident of chance, but a carefully chosen partner, one that has lived with ants for countless generations. The ants feed it, protect it, and harvest it. In return, it provides nourishment, sustaining the entire colony. This is farming, perfected in silence, written into instinct long before humans ever thought to till the land. The care they give their gardens is astonishing. Workers clean the beds, removing debris or harmful spores. They guard the fungus against pests and parasites. And in some species, they even enlist the help of bacteria, symbiotic allies that produce natural antibiotics, keeping the gardens healthy. It is a harmony of species, a cooperation that has lasted for millions of years. Fungus, ant, and bacteria. 3 lives bound together in survival. If you close your eyes and picture this underground farm, you might see a chamber glowing faintly with pale threads of fungus, spreading like delicate lace across the soil. Workers move carefully among them, carrying leaf fragments, tending each patch with quiet devotion. The air is humid, warm, filled with the scent of earth and green leaves. It is a world hidden from sunlight, yet thriving with life. A secret agriculture older than our own. The scale of these farms is staggering. Some colonies of leafcutter ants can number in the millions, their underground nests stretching wide and deep, with chamber after chamber devoted to fungus cultivation. These are not mere gardens, but vast fields beneath the soil, sustaining societies as large and complex as human towns. The ants do not need plows or tools, for their jaws and instincts are enough. They do not need to learn farming, for it is written in their very being. Each generation inherits not just a nest, but a living partnership with the crop that feeds them. To think that such a system existed tens of millions of years ago humbles us. When mammals were still young on the earth, when humans were not even a dream of evolution, ants were already farmers. They discovered what we would only learn much later, that life can be nurtured, that food can be grown, that survival can come not from hunting alone but from cultivation. Their underground agriculture is one of the greatest examples of how intelligence takes many forms, even in the smallest of creatures. There is a quiet peace in this image. While soldiers fight and defend, while workers forage and guard, others tend to the gardens, gently feeding life into life. It is a reminder that strength does not come only from weapons, but also from care, from patience, from nurturing what sustains us. In the soft glow of the fungal beds, in the careful movements of the workers, we see devotion not to self, but to the community, to the future. As you breathe deeply now, imagine those hidden farms, alive with quiet purpose. Picture the ants moving gently among their crops, guardians of a harvest older than history. Their gardens are unseen, uncelebrated, yet they are the foundation of survival. And in that stillness, in that devotion, there is a lesson for us too, that to tend, to care, to nurture, is as powerful a path to endurance as any weapon or battle. So as the night deepens and sleep draws near, let this image rest with you. Beneath the earth, ancient farmers work in silence, turning leaves into life. Their labor is patient, their harvest eternal, their story one of the oldest in nature. In their fields of fungus, tended with devotion, we glimpse the quiet miracle of survival through care. If you ever walk through a rainforest at dusk, when the golden light filters softly through the trees, you may see something both strange and beautiful, an endless parade of green moving silently across the forest floor. Look closer, and you will notice that each piece of green is a fragment of leaf, carried proudly above the head of a tiny ant. These are the leafcutter ants, among the most extraordinary farmers on earth, and their legacy stretches back millions of years. The sight is unforgettable. Hundreds, Sometimes thousands of ants move in single file, each bearing a piece of leaf larger than its own body. From a distance, it looks like a procession of emerald sails gliding through the undergrowth. A quiet river of green in constant motion. Some fragments are jagged, some smooth, each cut carefully by mandibles sharper than a blade. The ants do not stumble or wander. They follow invisible trails marked by scent. Every step, purposeful. Every journey certain. To us, they may appear fragile, but together, they form one of nature's most efficient harvesting machines. What makes this legacy so astonishing is that the leaves are not food for the ants themselves. They do not chew and swallow them, nor do they store them for later. Instead, these fragments are offerings for the hidden gardens beneath the soil. Workers carry the leaves into underground chambers, where other ants wait. There, the leaves are chewed into soft pulp and laid upon the beds of fungus. Slowly, patiently, the fungus consumes the pulp, spreading across it like a delicate lace. This fungus becomes the true nourishment of the colony, the bread of their world. The ants eat it, feed it to their young, and keep it safe as though it were treasure. It is humbling to realize that these ants discovered farming long before humans ever thought to cultivate crops. While our ancestors were still hunters wandering the savannas, the leafcutters were already cultivating fungus, sustaining their societies not through chance, but through deliberate care. Their legacy is not only one of survival, but of partnership, a partnership with the very plants and fungi of the earth. Picture the journey of a single leaf fragment. In the canopy above, a worker ant cuts it free, her mandibles slicing through tough veins with astonishing ease. The fragment falls, fluttering gently like a green feather. She grasps it, hoists it above her head, and begins the long trek back to the nest. Along the way, she passes hundreds of sisters, each carrying their own piece, each following the same invisible path. Together, they form an unbroken chain from the tree to the nest. A river of green, moving endlessly through the forest. When the leaf reaches the nest, it is handed to workers below, who chew it carefully, softening it for the fungus. Others tend to the beds, ensuring no mold or disease takes hold. Still others feed on the fungus and carry it to the larvae, ensuring the next generation will grow strong. Every step of this journey is coordinated, every action seamless, as if the colony were a single body, each ant a hand moving in harmony with the rest. The scale of these legacies is immense. Some leafcutter colonies can harvest tons of vegetation each year, reshaping forests, pruning trees, and altering the flow of ecosystems. They are farmers, not of a single garden, but of entire landscapes, influencing the life of the forest in ways unseen yet profound. And all of it is done without tools, without writing, without speech, only instinct, only the quiet wisdom written into their very being. There is a rhythm to their processions that feels almost soothing. The steady pace of their march, the soft shimmer of green leaves against brown soil, the endless repetition of cutting, carrying, and cultivating. To watch them is to witness patience embodied in motion. They do not hurry, they do not falter. Their legacy is not built in a day, but in countless days, countless journeys, countless leaves carried faithfully into the dark. As you breathe slowly now, imagine yourself standing by the side of such a procession. The forest is still, save for the whisper of leaves overhead. At your feet, the ants move in their endless line, a quiet river of determination. Each fragment of leaf is more than a burden. It is a gift, a thread in the tapestry of survival. You watch them disappear into the earth, where their gardens wait, hidden yet alive. And in this endless rhythm, there is peace. The lesson is gentle, yet enduring. Greatness is not always loud or sudden. Sometimes it is built through steady steps, through patience, through devotion, repeated 1,000 times over. The leafcutter ants remind us that even the smallest hands, carrying the smallest burdens, can build a legacy that endures across ages. So as the night deepens, Let the image of their emerald parade rest in your thoughts. Tiny farmers, carrying green sails through the forest, feeding gardens in darkness, sustaining empires beneath the soil. Their legacy whispers to us in silence that patience is strength, that devotion is power, and that even in the smallest footsteps, eternity can be written. In the stillness of the underground chambers, where the air is warm and moist, lies the heart of the ants' survival. Their gardens. These fungal beds are the lifeblood of the colony, the silent harvest that feeds millions. Without them, the society would wither. With them, the colony thrives, generation after generation. And so, the ants guard their gardens with a devotion as deep as any human farmer watching over precious fields of grain. But tending a garden is never simple. Just as human crops face threats from weeds, droughts, or disease, so too do the ants' fungal fields. Tiny invaders, molds, parasites, or rival fungi creep into the chambers, threatening to spoil the crop, to rot the harvest that sustains the colony. To protect against these unseen dangers, ants have developed allies of their own, bacteria, living companions that act as natural guardians. Upon the bodies of the workers, especially along their outer shells, live special strains of bacteria. To the naked eye, they are invisible, yet they play a role of extraordinary importance. These bacteria produce powerful antibiotics, invisible shields against harmful molds. When the ants brush their bodies against the fungus beds, they leave behind this protective layer, keeping the gardens safe, healthy, and thriving. It is as though each ant carries a vial of medicine within its very skin, a gift passed down from nature itself. If you close your eyes and imagine the scene, you may see it unfold like a dream. In the soft glow of the underground chambers, rows of pale fungus spread across the soil like delicate lace. Workers move gently among them, carrying fragments of leaves to feed the crop. As they pass, the air fills with the faint hum of life ants, brushing their bodies against the garden, leaving behind unseen guardians in their wake. It is a kind of farming, both ancient and advanced, a partnership of three lives: ant, fungus, and bacteria, bound together in a harmony older than human memory. The elegance of this system is humbling. Long before humans discovered antibiotics, ants were already using them. Long before we learned to harness bacteria for medicine, ants had formed a silent alliance, carrying their protectors with them into every chamber. It is a reminder that intelligence takes many forms, and that wisdom does not belong to humans alone. The ants, without thought or reason, embody a science we only came to understand millions of years later. Their devotion to the gardens is tireless. Workers clean the fungal beds, removing debris, tending to new growth, ensuring that nothing harmful takes root. Others patrol the chambers, watching for intruders, ready to sacrifice themselves at the first sign of danger. Together, they weave a web of protection that is as unbreakable as it is unseen. To the ants, this is not extraordinary, it is simply life. To us, it is a marvel, a story whispered from the earth about the resilience of cooperation. There is a gentle beauty in how ants treat their crops. They do not harvest carelessly, nor do they waste what they grow. Every leaf fragment is placed with purpose, every piece of fungus tended with care. Their gardens are sacred, not in ritual, but in necessity. Without them, the colony cannot survive. And so, every ant who enters those chambers becomes a guardian, no matter how small, no matter how brief her life may be. As you breathe slowly now, imagine yourself walking through one of these hidden farms. The air is damp and rich, with the scent of soil and green leaves. Beneath your feet, soft threads of fungus stretch across the earth, glowing faintly in the darkness. Around you, ants move gracefully, their bodies brushing against the beds, leaving behind invisible shields of protection. It is quiet here, peaceful, as though the earth itself is holding its breath. And in that silence, you feel the devotion that fills this place. A devotion older than history, deeper than time. The lesson is soft, yet it lingers. True guardianship is not loud or proud, but steady, patient. The ants remind us that to protect is an act of love, whether for a child, a community, or a fragile garden hidden in the dark. Their devotion to their crops is a devotion to life itself, a promise whispered across generations. So, as the night deepens and your body grows heavy with rest, let this image carry you further into calm. The guardians of the gardens, moving quietly through their fungal fields, carrying unseen allies upon their skin, weaving protection with every step. In their silence, there is peace. In their patience, there is strength. And in their gardens, hidden deep within the earth, there is the eternal story of survival through care. Deep within meadows and gardens, upon the stems of plants and the soft undersides of leaves, another story of ants quietly unfolds. A story not of battle or farming in darkness, but of herding, of caretaking, of a bond that echoes the ancient ways of shepherds tending their flocks. For just as humans once walked the grasslands with cattle and sheep, ants too have their herds. Their livestock are not great animals, but tiny creatures called aphids, soft-bodied insects that yield a sweet treasure. Aphids feed by piercing plants with their delicate mouths, drinking the sap that flows within. From their bodies, they release a golden droplet, a sugary liquid known as honeydew. To most of the world, these drops are nothing, vanishing in the air. But to ants, they are nectar, precious as milk or honey, a source of nourishment for the colony. And so, long ago, ants learned to care for aphids, to guard them, and to harvest from them gently, as farmers harvest from their flocks. If you pause and look closely at a garden on a quiet morning, you may see it yourself. Upon a green stem, a cluster of aphids gathers, their translucent bodies glowing faintly in the sunlight. Around them move ants, patient and steady. One ant approaches and taps an aphid with its antennae, stroking softly as though coaxing. In response, the aphid releases a droplet of honeydew, glistening like a jewel. The ant drinks, or carries it back to share with the colony. It is a ritual repeated endlessly, silent and tender, a bond built not on force but on exchange. The ants do not merely harvest, they protect. Like shepherds guarding sheep from wolves, ants defend aphids from predators such as ladybugs or parasitic wasps. They patrol the leaves, drive away intruders, and sometimes even carry the aphids to safer places when danger draws near. The aphids, in turn, remain where the ants keep them, feeding, producing, and sustaining the colony. It is a partnership, fragile yet enduring, played out on the scale of leaves and stems. When seasons change and colonies migrate, the ants do not abandon their herds. They carry the aphids with them, cradling them gently in their jaws, moving them to new plants as though leading cattle to fresh pastures. In this way, the bond is preserved across distances, across time. It is not just farming, it is herding, a living relationship that stretches back millions of years. Imagine, for a moment, shrinking yourself down to their world. You stand in a field of towering grass, each blade a tree above you. Before you, a cluster of aphids feeds silently, their bodies shimmering with dew. Around them move the ants, their antennae brushing, their movements steady. The scene feels almost pastoral, like a meadow at dawn, where shepherds guide their flocks. There is peace here, a rhythm of giving and receiving, of care and protection. Scientists marvel at this relationship, seeing in it a parallel to our own history. We tend cattle for milk, protect them, and carry them across lands. Ants, too, tend aphids for honeydew, guard them, and transport them with care. Long before humans domesticated animals, ants had already discovered this way of life. They remind us that the patterns we see as uniquely ours, farming, herding, partnership, are part of a greater tapestry of survival woven through all living things. There is also something soothing in the tenderness of the act itself. The gentle tapping of antennae, the patient waiting for a drop of sweetness, the careful guarding of a fragile herd. In a world that can be harsh and filled with struggle, The sight of ants tending aphids is a reminder of gentleness, of patience, of care. Even among warriors and builders, there is room for nurture, for kindness, for the quiet bonds that sustain life. As you breathe softly now, imagine the aphid farms glistening in the morning light. Picture ants moving gracefully among them. Like caretakers in a field, their antennae touching, their bodies poised in silent guardianship. In the stillness of the scene, you feel the peace of harmony, two species bound together in survival, each giving, each receiving, each continuing life in a delicate dance. The lesson is gentle but enduring. Care is a form of strength. To guard, to tend, to nurture, is as vital as to fight. The ants remind us that true survival lies not only in weapons or walls, but also in bonds, in the sweetness of connection, in the devotion to those who depend on us. Their herding of aphids is more than a strategy. It is a story of care written in miniature upon the leaves of the world. So as the night deepens and your body drifts toward rest, let this image guide you. Ants moving quietly through their fields of green, tending their tiny herds with patience and grace, gathering drops of sweetness that glisten like stars. In their devotion, there is peace. In their gentleness, there is strength. And in their silent herding, there is a reminder that even the smallest creatures carry within them the wisdom of care. In the soft rhythm of nature, life is always moving. The winds shift, the rains come, the seasons turn. For ants, change is constant. And sometimes the colony must migrate, leaving behind old chambers, old paths, and old fields, in search of safer ground or richer resources. Yet when they move, they do not leave everything behind. They carry with them their most precious companions, their herds of aphids. In this way, the ants resemble ancient nomads, wandering with their livestock. Picture it: a line of ants marching steadily across the grass. Some carry food, some carry soil, but among them are workers cradling tiny aphids in their jaws. These delicate creatures, fragile as droplets of dew, are lifted with care, transported to new plants. Just as human shepherds once guided flocks across plains and valleys, the ants move their herds across stems and leaves, ensuring that when they settle again, their source of nourishment is close at hand. It is not chance but design, a bond too important to abandon. The sight of it feels almost like a caravan. Imagine a desert tribe moving slowly across the sands, camels carrying supplies, children walking beside their elders, every step toward a distant oasis. In the same way, the ants march across their world of green, carrying aphids to fresh stems, safe pastures where the herds may feed and continue to yield their honeydew. It is a migration not of loneliness, but of community, every life tied to another. For the aphids, this bond is both dependence and protection. Alone, they are defenseless, vulnerable to predators and the harshness of weather. With the ants, they are safe, carried to new homes, guarded day and night. In exchange, they give what they can, drops of sweetness, golden nectar that sustains the colony. It is a quiet contract, spoken not in words but in instinct, honored through the countless generations that have walked this path before. Scientists see in this behavior a striking resemblance to our own history. Humans once moved with their cattle, following the grasses across the seasons, carrying not just food, but culture, life, and survival. The ants, too, are nomads of a kind, moving with their livestock, ensuring that wherever they settle, the bond between herder and herd continues unbroken. It is humbling to realize that this way of life existed in miniature long before we wrote stories of shepherds and wanderers. There is a tenderness in the image of an ant carrying an aphid. Her jaws, built for strength, hold the small body gently, never harming it. The aphid remains calm, trusting, for it knows the ant is no enemy. Instead, it is protector, carrier, guardian. The journey may be short from one stem to another, or long, across the open ground to a distant plant, but wherever they go together. It is a simple truth. Survival is shared. Close your eyes now, and imagine standing in a meadow at dusk. The air is still, the light golden. At your feet, a procession of ants moves slowly through the grass. Some carry seeds, some carry leaves, and among them are those carrying their tiny livestock. The aphids gleam faintly in the fading sun, like droplets of green crystal cradled in the ants' jaws. You watch them disappear into the shadows of new plants, where life will begin again. It is a migration silent yet eternal, written into the rhythm of the earth. The lesson is gentle, that to care for life is to carry it with you, even when the road is long, even when the path is uncertain. The ants remind us that we are never truly alone when we move with those we protect, those we nurture, those who depend on us. Their caravans of aphids are more than survival strategies. They are stories of companionship, of devotion carried carefully through the turning of seasons. So as the night deepens and your body grows heavy with rest, let the image of this journey soothe you. Ants marching like nomads, carrying their livestock through fields of green, finding new homes where life will flourish once more. In their devotion, there is calm. In their patience, there is peace. And in their endless migrations, we find a quiet truth, that life endures, not through strength alone, but through the bonds we choose to carry with us. In the vast forests of the world, towering trees rise toward the sky, their branches spread wide, their roots reaching deep. They seem strong, eternal, guardians of the land. Yet even these giants have allies, small protectors who defend them day and night. Beneath the bark, upon the leaves, and along the roots live their companions, ants. Together, tree and ant form a partnership so close, so enduring, that neither could thrive as fully without the other. It is a story of mutual care, written in silence across millions of years. Some trees offer ants shelter within their very bodies. Their trunks or thorns grow hollow, creating chambers where ants can live. These natural homes are not accidents, but adaptations, evolved over ages to welcome their tiny guardians. Within these hollow spaces, ants build their nests, safe from the elements and from predators. To the tree, the ants are not parasites but protectors, fierce defenders who ensure its survival. To the ants, the tree is not just shelter, but life itself. In return for this home, the ants patrol the tree with vigilance. They climb the stems, explore the branches, and march along the leaves. If a hungry insect dares to chew the tree's foliage, the ants rush forward, biting and stinging until the intruder retreats. If a vine tries to wrap itself around the trunk, the ants cut it away, keeping the tree free to grow. Even large animals may find themselves harassed if they disturb the tree's surface. Day and night, the ants stand guard, turning the tree into a fortress alive with defenders. Some trees go further, offering food as well as shelter. They grow nectar-filled glands along their leaves or stems, providing sweet liquid that sustains the ants. They may even produce special structures called Beltian bodies, tiny packets of protein and fat, grown solely to feed their protectors. It is as though the tree pays the ants for their service, a steady salary of sweetness in exchange for protection. This partnership is no fleeting encounter. It is a bond so deep that tree and ant live as one, each shaping the other's survival. Imagine, if you will, standing in a tropical forest, where sunlight filters through the canopy in golden beams. Before you stands a great acacia tree, its branches swaying gently. At first glance, it seems quiet. But look closer, and you see the truth. Ants moving swiftly along every branch, patrolling with tireless energy. They are small, almost invisible from afar. Yet they are the tree's army, ensuring that no enemy dares linger. The tree offers them nectar, hollow thorns to shelter in, and they, in turn, offer vigilance. It is a pact older than memory, an alliance written into their very bodies. Scientists call this relationship mutualism, but perhaps it is simpler to call it partnership. A partnership as elegant as any human alliance, yet free of words, free of treaties, sustained only by instinct and need. For us, alliances often falter, but for ants and trees, the bond has endured for millions of years, unbroken, unchallenged. In their union, we glimpse a lesson about cooperation, about how life thrives when beings choose not to compete, but to stand side by side. Some partnerships are so complete that neither partner can live without the other. Certain ants cannot survive without their host trees, and certain trees cannot thrive without their ant guardians. Together, they have become inseparable, two species woven into a single story. Their survival is shared, their destinies bound. In a way, they are no longer two, but one. There is a gentle beauty in this image. A tree, vast and still, rooted deep in the earth. Ants, small and tireless, flowing across its branches like rivers of life. Each offers what the other cannot. Each protects what the other needs. Together, they endure storms, droughts, and the passage of time. Their partnership is a whisper of balance, a quiet harmony that sustains both. As you breathe slowly now, imagine lying beneath such a tree. The leaves rustle softly above, casting shifting patterns of shade across your face. The air hums with quiet movement as ants patrol their fortress, unseen yet ever present. You feel the strength of the tree, its rooted calm, and the vigilance of the ants, their endless devotion. Together, they create a space of peace, a reminder that in unity there is resilience, and in partnership there is strength. The lesson is simple, yet profound. We are stronger. Just as the ants guard the tree and the tree shelters the ants, so too can life flourish when bonds are honored, when care is exchanged, when each gives and receives in balance. In the stillness of their alliance, there is a model for harmony, not in dominance, but in cooperation. So as the night deepens, let this image rest with you. The ancient partnership of trees and ants, guardians and companions, protectors and providers. In their bond, hidden in forests across the world, there is a quiet truth that survival is not only about strength or size, but about standing together, sharing life, and becoming more than what we are alone. If humans speak in words and songs, ants speak in scents. Their voices are invisible, carried not through sound but through chemical traces that linger in the air and upon the ground. This language of smell, called pheromones, is the foundation of their societies. It guides their movements, directs their tasks, calls them to battle, and leads them home. Without it, the order of the colony would collapse into chaos. With it, millions of ants move as though with a single mind. Imagine a worker ant stepping into the world above. Soil is warm, the air filled with the hum of insects. She has no map, no compass, no vision sharp enough to see far. Yet as she walks, she leaves behind a trail, a thin line of chemical scent, invisible to us, but shining like a beacon to her sisters. Another ant finds it, follows it, and strengthens it with her own. Soon, a highway of scent spreads across the ground, guiding thousands in perfect unison. What to us looks like random wandering is, in truth, a carefully woven tapestry of invisible signals. The power of pheromones is astonishing. A single drop, smaller than a grain of dust, can call an entire colony to action. When a worker discovers food, she returns to the nest, laying a trail as she goes. Her sisters follow, reinforcing the path until a steady stream flows back and forth, carrying nourishment to the colony. If danger arises, the signals change. Alarm pheromones spread quickly, igniting a surge of soldiers ready to defend. In moments, the colony transforms from peaceful workers to a unified army, all responding to scents alone. There are pheromones for every occasion, trails that lead to food, signals that call for help, scents that mark territory, even chemical whispers that declare, "I belong here," ensuring that outsiders are recognized and repelled. Ants touch antennae to read these signals, brushing gently against one another, exchanging stories in a language older than speech. Each brush of contact, each trace of scent, is a word in their silent vocabulary. Close your eyes and imagine this world of invisible language. Picture a forest floor where no human words are spoken, but where highways of scent shimmer like starlight just above the soil. Ants move along them like travelers following constellations, each step guided by trails unseen. Their communication is not clumsy or confused. It is precise, efficient, and elegant, a silent orchestra where every player follows notes no human ear can hear. Scientists have long marveled at this system. To us, communication is complex, filled with misunderstandings and errors. But ants, with only sense, achieve perfect harmony. Their language never lies, never falters, never betrays. It is pure, instinctive, and absolute. In this way, their colonies become more than gatherings of individuals. They become superorganisms, each ant a cell in a body, each pheromone a nerve impulse carrying messages to the whole. Even more extraordinary is how this language shapes their collective behavior. Sometimes, pheromone trails can create spirals, leading ants to follow one another in circles, endlessly, until exhaustion claims them. To us, this might seem tragic, but it also reveals how deeply their lives are woven into the fabric of their chemical world. They are not individuals wandering alone, but threads in a pattern, guided always by the scents of their sisters. As you breathe slowly now, imagine standing in the stillness of night, looking at the sky. Stars glitter above, forming constellations that guide sailors across oceans. Beneath your feet, ants follow constellations too. Not of light, but of smell. Trails of pheromones weave across the earth, invisible yet certain, leading them home. Both sky and soil carry languages older than humankind, guiding lives across distances unimaginable. The lesson is quiet but deep. Communication does not always need sound, or words, or voices. Sometimes, it is enough to leave a trace, a sign, a signal that others can follow. Ants remind us that connection can be subtle, unseen, and still unbreakable. Their pheromones are whispers in the dark, guiding millions without a single spoken word. So, as the night deepens and your eyes grow heavy, let this thought carry you towards sleep. Beneath the soil and across the grass, tiny lives follow invisible highways, guided by scents that weave them into one. Their language is silence, their words are scents, and their harmony is eternal. In their unseen communication, there is a reminder for us too, that even without words, we can leave behind signals of care, trails of kindness, and whispers of belonging for others to follow. In the quiet corridors of an ant colony, where light rarely reaches, there is no need for words or songs. Instead, ants greet one another with the softest of gestures, the touching of antennae. These delicate feelers, waving gently above their heads, are more than just tools of sensing. They are instruments of connection, carrying messages of scent, of recognition, of reassurance. Each brush, each tap, each lingering moment is part of a ritual, as old as the ants themselves, a ritual that holds the society together. Imagine a worker returning from a long journey above ground. She has followed a trail of scent to food, carried fragments of leaves, and avoided predators on her way home. At the entrance to the nest, she meets her sisters. Before she even steps inside, her antennae reach forward, touching theirs. In this moment of contact, her story is told. Her sisters learn where she has been, what she has found, and what dangers she has faced. No words, no sounds, only the silent music of touch and smell. This ritual happens countless times each day. Ants moving through narrow tunnels stop briefly to touch antennae, exchanging information in moments that last no longer than a breath. It is a language of presence, a reminder that each ant belongs, that each is part of the whole. To us, it may seem small, but to the colony, it is everything. Without it, the harmony would falter. With it, millions move as one. Some ants go further, using vibrations to speak through the soil itself. When danger threatens or when alarm must spread quickly, they press their bodies against the ground, creating tremors that ripple through the tunnels. Others sense these vibrations with their legs, feeling the message in the earth beneath them. It is as though the colony itself becomes a drum, carrying signals through its walls and floors. To human ears, these rhythms are inaudible. To ants, they are as clear as a cry of warning or a call for help. If you close your eyes, you can almost imagine it. A world where greetings are soft touches, where warnings are felt in the trembling of the ground, where the entire language of life is silent yet certain. Ants move past one another in endless rivers, pausing only for a heartbeat, to tap, to brush, to connect. The tunnels hum faintly, alive with vibrations. The colony breathes as one, and every ant knows her place, her duty, her belonging. Scientists who study ants sometimes describe these interactions as networks, like the flow of information through a computer or the movement of signals through a brain. But perhaps it is simpler and more beautiful to think of it as ritual. For the ants, touching antennae is not just functional, it is connection, affirmation, and continuity. It is the smallest of gestures, yet it binds together millions of lives. There is comfort in such simplicity. Imagine if, in our own lives, we could share meaning so easily, a single gesture, a touch, carrying all that needed to be said. Imagine a world where reassurance required no words, where belonging was confirmed in a brush of presence, where unity was woven through gestures rather than speeches. The ants remind us that communication can be soft, subtle, and still profound. As you breathe slowly now, picture this ritual unfolding beneath your feet. In the warm darkness of the nest, ants pass one another, pausing to tap antennae. A vibration hums faintly through the soil, carrying a warning or a signal of discovery. Each ant continues on her path, yet none are alone. Every touch, every tremor, is a thread weaving the colony together, stronger than stone, older than time. The lesson is gentle but enduring. Connection does not always require voices. Sometimes it is found in the lightest touch, the faintest vibration, the smallest reminder that we belong. The ants remind us that unity is not built on words alone, but on presence, on trust, on the quiet rituals we share. So as the night deepens and your eyes grow heavy, let this image soothe you. A world where greetings are touches, where messages hum softly through the ground, where every life is bound to another in silence. In their ritual of the antennae, the ants carry a wisdom of connection, a wisdom that whispers gently to us too, reminding us that even in silence, we are never truly alone. Every society, no matter how small, must face the quiet truth of mortality. In the hidden kingdoms of ants, death comes often a worker worn down by endless foraging, a soldier fallen in battle, a forager lost to exhaustion. Yet even in death, the story does not end. For ants, the passing of one life is not ignored, not overlooked. It is announced with a fragrance, a chemical signal, a final message that whispers through the colony: this one is gone. When an ant dies, its body slowly begins to release certain chemicals, among them oleic acid, which marks it unmistakably as lifeless. To human senses, this change is invisible, intangible. But to ants, it is as clear as a voice calling out. The scent says, "Carry me away." And the living respond with calm devotion. Workers approach, touch the still body with their antennae, and then, without hesitation, lift it gently. They carry it away from the nest, laying it in special refuse chambers or upon the soil far from their home. In this way, the colony remains clean, safe from disease, free to continue its rhythm of life. The act feels almost like a ritual. Imagine a tunnel quiet in the dim earth. A fallen worker lies still. Others pass by, pausing to brush their antennae across her body. Then, one lifts her with patient care, as though honoring her service. She is carried down the corridor, through the busy traffic of workers, through chambers filled with larvae and food. No one interferes. Each ant knows the meaning of the scent. It is a funeral procession without words, a silent acknowledgement of life given and life completed. Scientists have studied this behavior with wonder. They found that if the chemical signal of death is placed upon a living ant, her sisters will carry her away too, confused, but faithful to the scent. She may struggle and return, but again and again she is removed until the fragrance fades. This experiment shows just how deeply ants depend on chemical truth. To them, smell is reality, and the fragrance of death is undeniable. It is a reminder that their lives, though brief, are always recognized, always acknowledged by the colony. There is something both humbling and comforting in this ritual. No ant dies unseen. No body is left to decay among the living. Each life, however small, is noticed, carried, and placed with care. It is not grief in the way we humans understand, but it is respect. A recognition written not in emotion but in instinct. The colony continues, but it never forgets to respond to its fallen. If you close your eyes now, you may picture this in the silence beneath the soil. Workers pause in their labor, sensing the fragrance that lingers in the air. They gather, not in mourning but in action, lifting their sister to her final rest. The colony hums on, tunnels alive with movement. Yet for a brief moment, one small body is carried with quiet devotion. There is dignity even in the smallest life, and there is care even in death. For us, the image offers a gentle lesson. Death is not an ending ignored, but a part of the cycle, a passage that others acknowledge and honor. The ants remind us that no life is too small to be recognized, that every being leaves behind a trace, a signal, a memory that guides those who remain. Their fragrance of death is not despair, but continuity, ensuring that the colony endures while still giving recognition to the lives that sustain it. As the night deepens and your breathing slows, let this image settle in your mind. Beneath the quiet earth, ants carry their fallen with patience, guided by a scent older than time. It is a ritual without words, a ceremony without songs, yet filled with meaning. In their devotion, we glimpse a truth that soothes, that every life, no matter how brief, is seen, is carried, is given its place in the great story of survival. So drift gently now, with the thought that even in silence, even in darkness, care endures. The ants remind us, life continues, death is honored, and the colony lives on forever. A balance of endings and beginnings, woven together in the fragrance of time. In the hidden cities of the ants, where thousands or even millions live side by side, harmony depends on recognition. Who belongs and who does not? Who is sister and who is stranger? In our world, we answer these questions with faces, voices, and names. But for ants, the answer is written in something far more subtle, the invisible fingerprint of smell. Every colony carries its own unique chemical signature. It is a scent composed of countless tiny compounds, blended in a pattern as distinct as a melody or a fingerprint. To us, it is undetectable, too faint for human senses, but to ants, it is unmistakable, undeniable. The moment two ants touch antennae, they know, you are one of us or you are not. In this way, the colony remains secure, united by a fragrance that no outsider can fake. Picture a worker at the entrance of the nest. She stands as a silent guard, her antennae waving slowly in the air. Along comes another ant, weary from foraging. They meet, touch briefly, and in that instant, information passes between them. If the chemical fingerprint is right, the guard steps aside and the traveler enters. If the scent is wrong, the response is swift. The intruder is repelled, chased, or even killed. For in the ant world, belonging is everything, and the colony cannot afford to harbor strangers. This invisible fingerprint is not static. It shifts with time, with diet. Ants who feed on the same food, who live in the same soil, who breathe the same air, gradually share the same scent. In this way, the colony's identity is renewed constantly, reinforced through the daily lives of its members. It is not just a mark of birth, but a living fragrance, evolving with the colony itself. Scientists who study ants marvel at the precision of this system. Imagine an orchestra playing a complex symphony, each instrument adding its voice, yet the whole forming a single melody. The colony's scent is much the same, countless ants contributing their subtle notes, yet together creating a harmony that defines who they are. To step inside the nest is to be wrapped in that fragrance, to be recognized, accepted, and embraced without question. If you close your eyes now, you might imagine walking through such a colony. The air is rich with an aroma too delicate for human senses, yet palpable to the ants. Every step, every brush of antennae confirms belonging. It is like walking through a city where every door opens to you. Every passerby nods in greeting, because you carry the invisible passport of scent. You are part of the whole, and the whole knows you. But there is also danger here. For scent can be stolen, imitated, or confused. Some parasitic ants or clever invaders learn to mimic the colony's fragrance, slipping past guards, entering the nest like thieves in disguise. When this happens, chaos can follow: food stolen, young threatened, queens attacked. Yet even in this vulnerability, the system endures, for the fingerprint of smell is not easily faked. And intruders are soon discovered, their deception broken by the constant touch and testing of antennae. There is beauty in this invisible signature. To us, identity is fragile, bound to names or appearances that can be altered or misunderstood. For ants, identity is woven into the air they breathe, the food they share, the lives they live together. It is not chosen, not claimed, but lived assent, written into every step, every movement, every heartbeat of the colony. The lesson is gentle but deep. Belonging is not always about what we say or how we look, but about the unseen bonds we share. The rhythms of life live together. The ants remind us that unity is not forged in words, but in presence, in shared experience, in the invisible fingerprints we leave upon one another through care and connection. As you breathe slowly now, imagine yourself within that hidden city, surrounded by invisible harmony. Each ant you meet touches you with her antennae, confirming your place, your belonging. The air itself feels alive, filled with the silent music of recognition. There is no doubt, no fear, only certainty. You are one of us. So as sleep draws near, let this image carry you deeper. An invisible fingerprint of smell, binding lives together in harmony, guiding each ant home, protecting the colony from strangers. In their scent, there is identity. In their identity, there is belonging. And in their belonging, there is peace. Even in the most disciplined of societies, there are moments of danger, moments when an individual finds herself in peril. For a solitary creature, this might mean the end. But for an ant, life is never truly alone. Each worker, each soldier, each queen is part of a greater whole. And when danger strikes, when one is trapped or held fast by an enemy, she has a way to call for aid. Not with sound, not with words, but with a fragrance. The cry. When an ant is caught, perhaps by the jaws of a predator or beneath the weight of shifting soil, her body releases special pheromones, alarm signals carried invisibly through the air. To her sisters, these molecules are like a shout echoing in the dark. I am in danger. Come to me. Instantly, workers nearby react. They raise their antennae, sense the urgent scent, and rush toward the source. Some bite, some pull, some attack the threat. The trapped ant is freed, or defended, or avenged, not left to suffer alone. Picture this. A small worker caught in the sticky strands of a spider's web. She struggles, but her legs hold fast. In panic, her body releases its chemical call. Within moments, a cluster of sisters arrives, following the trail of urgency in the air. They tug at her limbs, they bite the web, they distract the predator. Sometimes they succeed, and the ant is freed to return home. Sometimes they do not, and she falls. But always, the cry is answered, no call is ignored, no life is left unacknowledged. This behavior reveals something extraordinary. They simply respond, bound by instinct as deep as the soil itself. To them, the colony is one body, and the cry of one is the pain of all. To ignore it would be to deny themselves. To answer it is as natural as breathing. Scientists who have studied these alarm pheromones describe them as powerful and immediate. A tiny release can send ripples of urgency through hundreds of ants, transforming a peaceful trail into a surge of defenders. Sometimes the response is so strong that it seems like a wave crashing through the colony. Each ant reacting not in isolation but as part of a single, living organism. It is communication stripped to its essence, need answered by presence. If you close your eyes now, imagine the scene unfolding beneath your feet. A tunnel collapses slightly, trapping a worker beneath the soil. In the darkness, she releases her scent. It drifts through the air, invisible, undeniable. Within seconds, her sisters arrive, scraping, pulling, carrying away grains of earth. Together they free her, together they return to their rhythm. The cry was brief, the rescue swift, and the colony breathes as one once more. There is something profoundly soothing in this, the knowledge that no call for help is ever lost. In our own lives, cries for help are often carried not in sense, but in words, gestures, or even silence. Sometimes they are heard, sometimes ignored. But the ants remind us that to answer is instinct, not choice. That to care is as natural. Their devotion whispers to us, do not turn away from the cries around you, however small they may seem. As the night deepens and your breathing slows, let this thought comfort you. Somewhere in the soil, ants move tirelessly, their lives woven together by bonds invisible yet unbreakable. One cries, many answer, one falters, many rise. Their unity is their strength, their instinct, their compassion. And in their cries for help, we hear an echo of our own need to be seen, to be answered, to be held by others in times of trial. So drift gently now, with the image of tiny lives moving in darkness, each one certain that if danger comes, she will not be alone. In their cries for help, there is a quiet promise that we are strongest not in isolation, but in togetherness, and that no voice, however small, however faint, should go unheard. In the quiet of the soil, life flows in calm rhythm. Workers carrying food, nurses tending the young, guards standing watch. Yet beneath this tranquility lies a readiness that never sleeps. For when danger threatens the colony or when rivals encroach upon their territory, ants have a way to transform in an instant. A single signal can awaken thousands, summoning them from chambers and tunnels, uniting them into an army. This is the call to arms, carried not by sound. The message begins with one ant, perhaps a scout who encounters an intruder. She releases alarm pheromones, sharp, urgent signals that spread like invisible fire. The effect is immediate. Ants nearby stiffen, raise their antennae, and rush toward the source. They, too, release the signal, amplifying it, sending it deeper into the nest. Soon, the entire colony vibrates with purpose. Soldiers pour from hidden chambers, workers abandon their tasks, and together they surge outward, unified by a message too subtle for human senses, yet powerful enough to summon legions. To us, it is as though drums had begun to beat beneath the earth, calling warriors to the field. But the ants need no drum, no trumpet, no shouted command. The fragrance alone is enough. It flows through tunnels, clings to soil, lingers in the air, guiding each ant to its place. No one hesitates, no one questions. The colony moves as though it were a single body, every limb aligned. On the battlefield, this coordination is breathtaking. Waves of ants sweep forward, guided by the trails of pheromones. Attack signals mark enemies, directing soldiers where to strike. Reinforcement pheromones summon more allies, ensuring that no battle is fought alone. What to us might seem chaotic, a whirl of legs and mandibles, is in truth a highly ordered dance, choreographed by invisible messages. Each ant knows what to do, not because she decides, but because the fragrance tells her, and she obeys without hesitation. Picture it now. Two rival colonies meet on a forest floor. Scouts clash first, releasing alarm pheromones that ripple outward. In moments, the ground seems alive, covered in rushing bodies. Trails of scent carve invisible highways across the soil, each one drawing more soldiers into the fray. Mandibles snap, stingers flash, acid sprays through the air, yet even in this frenzy, there is discipline. Each ant moves with purpose, guided by the unseen hand of pheromone signals. It is war, but also music, a fierce symphony played upon the ground. For ants, the call to arms is not about conquest alone, it is about survival. Rivals may compete for territory, food, or nesting sites. And in these struggles, hesitation is death. The colony must respond as one, defending itself with absolute unity. This unity is their strength, their shield, their greatest weapon. No predator, no rival, no force of nature can stand long against the tide of thousands moving together. Each one, a thread in the fabric of survival. And yet, there is also peace within this image, if you look closely. For the call to arms is not constant. It comes, it passes, and life returns to calm. The pheromones fade, the soldiers retreat, and once again the colony hums with gentle rhythm. Foraging, tending, resting. War is not their purpose, only their response. Beneath it all, their lives are still devoted to care for the young, for the queen, for the colony itself. As you breathe slowly now, imagine this transformation beneath the soil. A quiet nest stirs, an invisible signal spreads, and suddenly, thousands rise as one. They rush, they defend, they fight. Then, just as swiftly, the scent fades, the battle ends, and peace returns. It is a cycle as old as the ants themselves, a rhythm of vigilance and rest. And in that rhythm lies a gentle reminder. Strength is not only in readiness to fight, but in the wisdom to return to peace when the danger is past. The lesson is soft but strong. Unity can summon power beyond measure, but unity must also serve life, not destroy it. The ants remind us that even the fiercest battles can be answered with calm, that every call to arms should one day become a call to rest. In their discipline, there is balance. In their devotion, there is peace. So as the night deepens and your eyes grow heavy, let this image guide you. A colony rising together at a single call, then returning to stillness once the danger is gone. An invisible language of scent binding thousands into one. A call to arms, answered with courage, then set aside for the gentle rhythm of life. In their unseen symphony, the ants carry a wisdom we, too, may follow. To rise when needed, to stand together, and to rest when the storm has passed. In most moments, the invisible highways of pheromones guide ants with perfect precision. They find food, return home, rally for defense, and move as one body with astonishing harmony. Yet even the most elegant systems can falter. Sometimes, in the forest or across the soil, these trails of scent bend into a loop, trapping the ants in a circle with no escape. They march round and round, following one another endlessly, until exhaustion claims them. This strange event is known as the ant mill, or the death spiral, a haunting dance of circles without end. At first, it seems ordinary. A small group of ants loses their way, perhaps separated from the main trail. They begin to follow one another, each reinforcing the path with pheromones. Their circle grows tighter, more certain, more convincing with every lap. To the ants, the trail feels true, the scent undeniable. And so they march, step after step, body after body, bound to the loop by trust in the fragrance of their sisters. To us, It appears like a living wheel, turning endlessly upon the ground. There is both sadness and beauty in this spiral. Sadness, because the ants cannot escape. They march until their strength fades, until the circle slows, until silence returns to the soil. Beauty, because in their endless circuit we see the depth of their devotion, the certainty of their trust. They follow not out of foolishness, but out of instinct. The same instinct that, in countless other moments, has allowed them to survive and thrive as one. If you close your eyes, you may picture it. A ring of ants moving in perfect rhythm, their tiny bodies circling upon the earth. From above, it looks like a wheel spinning, a clock ticking without end. No voice calls them out, no signal breaks the pattern. Only the steady march, the loop without escape, the spiral of devotion carried too far. It is haunting, yet strangely calming, like watching ripples spread endlessly across a pond. Scientists have studied this phenomenon with awe, recognizing it as a rare flaw in the otherwise flawless system of pheromone communication. To us, it might appear as a tragedy, but it is also a testament to the power of unity. The very instinct that dooms them in this spiral, the instinct to trust, to follow, to remain bound together, is the same instinct that, in every other moment, ensures their survival. The spiral is not failure, but the shadow of their greatest strength. There is a lesson here, whispered softly through the turning of the circle. To follow is safe, to trust is powerful, but sometimes wisdom lies in breaking away, in seeking a new path. For ants, instinct does not allow this. But for us, the reminder is gentle and profound. Unity must be balanced with awareness, trust with reflection. Circles can sustain, but they can also confine. Knowing when to follow and when to step aside is part of the journey of life. Yet even in this haunting spiral, there is peace. The ants do not panic. They do not despair. They march until they can march no more, carried not by fear, but by the rhythm of their kind. In their endless circle, there is a stillness, a surrender, a reminder that even mistakes can be part of the great pattern of existence. The spiral ends, the soil covers the memory, and the colony continues, guided again by trails that lead not to circles, but to life. As you breathe slowly now, imagine the circle turning beneath the stars. Tiny lives move in rhythm, round and round, their path unseen but certain to them. The night air is calm, the earth soft beneath their steps. To watch is to feel both sorrow and serenity, to see devotion carried to its quiet conclusion. And in that vision, there is a reminder that all paths, even those that falter, are part of the story of life. So as the night deepens and your body grows heavy with rest, let the image of the spiral drift with you, circles without end, turning softly in the dark, carried by trust, bound by instinct, fading gently into stillness. In their endless march, the ants reveal a truth for us too, that even in error there is beauty. Even in loss there is devotion. Even in circles. To us, the world is filled with colors, shapes, and sounds. We navigate with sight. We listen with ears. Yet ants live in a realm we can barely imagine, a realm where smell is everything. Their antennae are not only feelers, but instruments of astonishing precision, capable of detecting scents so faint that even our sharpest machines would struggle to measure them. For ants, smell is vision, memory, and compass. It is the thread that connects them to one another and to the earth around them. Scientists have discovered that the sensitivity of an ant's nose, hidden not in nostrils, but in the fine hairs of its antennae, is extraordinary. A single molecule of a chemical can be enough to stir a response, enough to guide a worker to food or warn her of danger. In fact, in certain tests, ants' sense of smell surpasses even that of dogs, which we humans prize for their ability to detect explosives or track scents across miles. To ants, this sensitivity is not special. It is life itself, the foundation of their communication and survival. Imagine standing in a meadow, feeling only the warmth of the sun and the breeze upon your skin. To you, the air seems empty, but to an ant, That same air is filled with signals, with trails, with invisible constellations of scent. Every step brings a new message. The presence of food, the nearness of kin, the warning of predators. What seems to us like silence is, to them, a symphony, each note composed of molecules, drifting unseen, yet undeniable. This ability allows ants to build worlds of order from chaos. When a worker finds a crumb of food, she marks her path with a thin line of pheromones. To us, the line does not exist, but to her sisters, it shines brighter than any painted road. They follow it, strengthen it, and soon a highway of thousands flows across the soil. When an intruder enters the nest, alarm pheromones spread instantly, rallying soldiers without a single cry. And when an ant brushes against her sister, the scents exchanged tell of identity, belonging, and purpose. All of this, all the order, all the unity rests upon a sense we can only glimpse. If you close your eyes, you may imagine what it feels like to live in such a world. Every breath is a message, every step a guide. The soil beneath your feet hums with signals. The air is alive with trails. It is as if the earth itself were covered in writing, invisible to our eyes but legible to your senses. You would never be lost, never be alone, for the air would always tell you where to go, whom to follow, and how to belong. This is the gift the ants carry, the invisible vision of smell. There is a quiet wonder in this. For while we marvel at stars and galaxies far away, the ants live in a universe just as vast, written not in light but in fragrance. Their world is a cosmos of molecules, drifting like constellations across the soil. Each ant navigates it not as an individual wanderer, but as part of a collective, guided by the same invisible stars. It is humbling to think that such complexity, such harmony, rests upon signals too small for us to see, yet powerful enough to guide millions. The lesson is soft but enduring. The world holds more than we perceive. Just because we do not see or hear something does not mean it is absent. Ants remind us that life is layered, that there are dimensions of existence beyond our senses. For them, the unseen is their truth. For us, it is a reminder to look deeper, to trust that what we cannot perceive may still be real, shaping lives in silence. As you breathe slowly now, imagine drifting into that invisible world. Trails of scent glow faintly around you like threads of starlight. Each step carries you along a path woven by others. Each breath fills you with messages older than time. In this world, there is no confusion, no loneliness, only harmony, only belonging, only the surety of connection through senses beyond our own. It is a universe hidden in plain sight, alive beneath every blade of grass. So as sleep calls to you, let this thought linger gently, that even in silence, there are symphonies. Even in emptiness, there are constellations. Even in the unseen, there is truth. The ants move through their world with certainty, guided by sense more delicate than dreams, and in their footsteps, we glimpse a wisdom that soothes that the unseen often holds the greatest wonder of all. When we walk across a meadow, a garden, or a forest floor, it may seem as though the earth beneath our feet is solid, still, and silent. Yet hidden just below the surface, vast worlds are alive, carved with patience by the tiniest of builders. Ants, creatures so small we barely notice them, are also architects of cities, constructing underground metropolises that rival our own in complexity. These are not mere holes in the ground, but societies built of soil and stone, where life flows through chambers and tunnels as smoothly as it flows through the streets of our towns. A single nest can stretch meters deep, with networks of tunnels branching outward like the veins of a leaf, or the roots of a great tree. Some lead to chambers where food is stored, kept safe from decay and predators. Others open into nurseries where eggs and larvae rest, tended constantly by workers who clean, feed, and guard them. Deeper still, hidden chambers house the queen, the heart of the colony, whose presence sustains the entire society. Every path has a purpose. Every tunnel leads somewhere essential. The nest is not random, but a masterpiece of design, grown and tended through countless generations. To see one of these cities revealed is to glimpse wonder. Scientists, by pouring plaster or molten metal into abandoned nests, have uncovered the full shape of these structures. What emerges is breathtaking. A sculpture of chambers and passageways, delicate yet vast, rising like towers beneath the soil. To walk among such a nest in miniature would feel like exploring a cathedral, with grand halls, hidden corridors, and graceful arches carved in silence. The ants, without tools, without blueprints, build with an instinct deeper than memory, guided only by the needs of their community. Ventilation, too, is part of their design. Tunnels are shaped to allow air to flow, carrying heat away, bringing fresh oxygen in. Some nests are built with chimneys that open at the surface, catching the breeze and circulating it through the colony. Others are angled to drain rainwater, protecting the chambers from floods. Every detail reflects not chance, but wisdom, a kind of natural engineering that balances environment, climate, and life. To imagine such precision from creatures so small is to be humbled by the ingenuity of nature, and the scale can be immense. Some nests stretch across entire fields, with colonies numbering in the millions. Their chambers rise and fall like skyscrapers. Their tunnels weave like subway lines. At night, when the world above grows quiet, these cities below remain alive with movement. Workers travel the corridors. Soldiers patrol the entrances. Nurses tend to the young. The nest hums like a living machine, every part connected, every being devoted to the same rhythm of survival. If you close your eyes now, you might imagine standing within such a city. The walls of earth rise smooth and cool around you, glowing faintly in the dim light of your imagination. The air is warm, filled with the scent of soil. Around you, ants flow through the tunnels like rivers of life, carrying food, carrying young, carrying stories of the day's labor. Each chamber you enter has its purpose, one filled with seeds, another with tiny eggs, another with resting workers. It feels alive, as though the earth itself were breathing through these passages. In a way, these nests reflect our own cities. We build roads and buildings. They build tunnels and chambers. We create storage rooms and nurseries. We regulate air with fans and chimneys, with soil and instinct. The parallels are striking, as though the ants' tiny societies are mirrors of our own, reminding us that we are not alone in seeking order, shelter, and community. There is peace in this image, despite the ceaseless activity. The ants do not rush with panic or noise. They move with calm certainty, each one knowing her place, each one guided by purpose. Their city beneath the soil is not chaotic, but harmonious. A song played not with sound, but with movement, and in that harmony, there is a kind of serenity, a reminder that even the busiest societies can hold peace at their heart. The lesson is gentle but lasting. That strength lies not only in what is seen above, but also in what is built quietly below. Ants remind us that true foundations are often hidden, that the structures which sustain life may lie beneath the surface, unseen but essential. Their cities beneath the soil whisper to us of patience, devotion, and the beauty of building together. So as the night deepens and your breathing slows, let yourself drift into the image of these hidden worlds. Vast underground cathedrals, alive with movement, sustained by devotion, built by countless tiny hands. Cities beneath the soil, silent yet eternal, reminding us that even in the smallest corners of the earth, greatness is being built in quiet harmony. Beneath our feet, ants shape hidden cities of tunnels and chambers. But not all of their architecture is buried underground. In some places, their homes rise proudly above the surface, built from grains of soil, specks of sand, and fragments of leaf. These are the towers of earth-grand mounds that stand as monuments to patience and cooperation. To us, they may appear small, perhaps no higher than our knees. Yet for the ants, these structures are skyscrapers, reaching far above their world, visible markers of their hidden societies. A mound begins with a single worker carrying a grain of soil in her jaws. She sets it down, returns for another and another. Soon, thousands join, each adding her tiny load, each shaping walls and arches with careful instinct. Over days, weeks, and even months, the mound grows. What begins as a scatter of soil becomes a fortress, with towers rising, tunnels winding, and chambers hidden deep within. It is not the work of a single builder, nor of a few, but of an entire colony acting together, each guided by the same silent plan. Some mounds are modest, blending into the grasses. Others rise like earthen castles, tall enough to tower over the creatures of the forest. In parts of Africa and South America, termite and ant mounds can reach several meters high, as tall as a person or more. Imagine being an ant at the base of such a structure, gazing upward. To her, it is not merely tall, it is colossal, a mountain built by her sisters, a monument that dwarfs her entire being. And yet, she carries her grain of soil without hesitation, adding to the whole, piece by piece. What makes these towers even more extraordinary is that they are not random piles. They are carefully engineered, designed with ventilation systems that allow air to flow, keeping the nest cool and breathable. Small holes and angled tunnels let breezes pass through, creating currents that regulate temperature and humidity. In this way, the mound becomes not just shelter, but climate control, a natural machine that sustains life within. It is architecture born not of blueprints, but of instinct, perfected through millions of years. If you close your eyes, you might imagine standing in a clearing at dawn. The air is cool, mist clings to the ground, and before you rises a mound of earth, its towers glowing golden in the first light. At first glance it seems lifeless, just soil and sand. But then you notice movement. Ants, streaming in and out of hidden entrances, carrying food, carrying soil, carrying the rhythm of their lives. The mound is not just earth, it is alive, breathing with the colony inside, humming with activity unseen yet constant. To us, these structures resemble our own monuments, castles, temples, cathedrals. We build upward to mark our presence, to shelter our lives. The ants, too, build upward, though not for glory or display. Their towers are simply necessity, shaped by instinct, grown from devotion. And yet, they remind us of ourselves, of our own desire to rise, to create, to leave behind structures that endure. There is quiet wonder in realizing that these towers are built without leaders, without architects, without plans. Each ant adds her grain of soil, guided only by the scents and movements of her sisters. And yet, the result is magnificent, strong, stable, purposeful. It is a testament to the power of cooperation, to the strength of many, acting as one. The lesson is gentle but lasting. Greatness is not always built by a single vision, but by countless small acts repeated faithfully. Ants remind us that even the tallest towers begin with a single grain, carried patiently, added carefully, again and again. What seems impossible becomes inevitable when devotion is shared. As you breathe slowly now, imagine the towers of earth standing quiet in the early light. Their walls are warm from the sun, their chambers cool from the breeze. Within, the colony hums with life, safe and thriving. Above, the mound rises like a cathedral of soil, a monument not of pride, but of persistence. And in that vision, there is peace, the peace of knowing that even the smallest lives can build greatness when they build together. So as sleep draws near, let the image of these towers guide you. Rising from the earth, glowing in the dawn, alive with unseen movement, they remind us that strength is built not in haste, but in patience. That monuments are not born in an instant, but in countless steps, countless grains, countless hands working as one. And in their towers of earth, the ants whisper to us, build slowly, build together, and what you create will endure beyond your days. The world of ants is filled with obstacles. Rivers cut across their paths, gaps open between branches, floods sweep across the ground. For creatures so small, these barriers might seem impossible to overcome. Yet ants, guided by unity and instinct, have discovered a remarkable way to endure. When the path is broken, when the waters rise, they do not turn back. Instead, they join together, their bodies weaving into living bridges and rafts that carry the colony to safety. In these moments, ants themselves become the architecture of survival. Imagine a trail of ants moving through the forest. The path leads to food. But suddenly, a gap appears, a crack in the earth, too wide for a single ant to cross. At first, a few ants cling to one side, reaching forward. Others step onto their backs, extending the chain. More and more join, locking their legs and mandibles together, until the gap is spanned by their bodies. Across this living bridge, workers stream, carrying food, carrying the rhythm of the colony. Those who form the bridge remain still, sacrificing movement for structure, their bodies the road upon which survival walks. The sight is breathtaking. What appears at first like a solid branch or root is, in truth, alive, a chain of ants holding one another in perfect tension, each trusting her sisters, each bearing the weight of the colony above. No leader directs them, no blueprint guides them. The bridge emerges from instinct, from the simple truth that together they can achieve what alone they cannot. And when the need has passed, the bridge dissolves, the ants rejoining the flow of life as though nothing had changed. Even more astonishing are the rafts. In flood-prone lands, when rains swell rivers and drown the forest floor, fire ants gather together, their colony at risk of being swept away. Yet instead of perishing, they form living boats. Workers link themselves tightly, their bodies clinging to one another, creating a floating platform. The queen and young are carried in the center, safe and dry, while workers at the edges endure the touch of the water. The raft drifts upon the current, sometimes for days, until it reaches solid ground. Then, like a miracle, the colony steps ashore and begins again. To us, it seems impossible. How can such small bodies resist drowning? But their linked forms trap air, creating buoyancy. Their unity makes them light upon the water, strong against the flow. Each ant gives herself to the structure, some even perishing in the effort. Yet the colony survives. It is a story not of individuals, but of devotion, of countless lives, woven into one vessel of survival. Close your eyes now and picture it. A dark river rushes through a forest after heavy rain. Upon its surface drifts a raft, not of wood or leaves, but of ants, a living island, brown and glistening, humming with life. At the center, the queen rests, surrounded by her young. Around her, thousands hold fast, their bodies linked, their devotion unshakable. The current carries them onward, yet they do not break. They float, together, until the storm passes. It is both fragile and eternal, a reminder of what unity can endure. Scientists marvel at this behavior, calling it one of nature's most extraordinary examples of cooperation. To us, survival often means competition, strength, or speed. To ants, survival means togetherness, sacrifice, the willingness to become part of something larger. Their bridges and rafts are not accidents, but strategies honed over millions of years. Proof that even the smallest can achieve the impossible when they act as one. There is a lesson here, soft yet profound, that sometimes we, too, must become bridges for one another. Sometimes we must carry others. Sometimes we must be carried. Sometimes we must hold steady while others pass, or endure hardship so that others may be safe. The ants remind us that strength is not always in moving forward alone, but in becoming the support others need, in linking ourselves to something greater than our own lives. As the night deepens and your breathing slows, let this image soothe you. A bridge of living bodies spanning a gap in the earth, ants flowing across in silence, a raft drifting on dark waters, alive yet unbroken. These are not just acts of survival, but acts of devotion, woven quietly in the soil and streams of the world. In their living bridges and rafts, the ants whisper to us a truth both humbling and comforting, that when we join together, even the deepest rivers can be crossed, and even the fiercest floods endured. So drift now into rest, carrying with you the image of these tiny architects of unity, bridges of bodies, rafts of life silent, steadfast, eternal. And in their strength, may you find peace. Most ant nests, though vast, are limited to a single mound, a single network of tunnels beneath the soil. But in some species, the boundaries of the colony blur and vanish. And what emerges is something far greater: a super colony. These are not single nests, but sprawling empires, stretching across fields, forests, and even continents. Within them, millions of ants, sometimes billions, move with one purpose, one identity, one invisible bond. It is as though the earth itself becomes their city, their nation, their world. One of the most famous supercolonies belongs to the Argentine ant, an invader carried by human ships to distant lands. From its original home in South America, it spread across the globe, forming networks of nests so vast they seem almost endless. In southern Europe, a single supercolony stretches for thousands of kilometers along the Mediterranean coast. Ants from Spain to Italy, recognizing one another as kin, living not in rivalry but in harmony. To us, they seem countless, yet to them, they are one. The scale is difficult to imagine. Picture walking across a country and finding that every field, every garden, every patch of earth is part of the same society. No matter how far you go, the ants you encounter belong to the same colony, united by the same chemical fingerprint. There are no borders, no wars between neighboring nests, only cooperation. It is as if an invisible empire lies beneath our feet, quiet yet immense, hidden yet everywhere. To the ants, this unity brings strength. Supercolonies dominate landscapes, overwhelming native species, reshaping ecosystems. Their numbers are too great, their cooperation too seamless for rivals to stand against them. They move like rivers of life, carrying food, expanding tunnels, raising young, and always, they recognize one another, not as strangers, but as sisters, no matter how distant their nests may be. Yet even in their vastness, supercolonies remain quiet. They do not raise monuments, nor do they seek glory. Their power lies not in display, but in persistence. Day after day, grain by grain, step by step, they expand, filling the world with their invisible presence. It is empire without kings, nation without flags, civilization without walls. Their unity is instinct alone, written in scent and carried in devotion. If you close your eyes, you may picture it. A meadow at dusk, silent save for the chirp of crickets. Beneath the soil, tunnels stretch outward for miles, connecting nest to nest, chamber to chamber. Ants move endlessly through them, carrying seeds, carrying food, carrying life. Far away, in another field, others do the same. Though they will never meet, they are one colony, one body, one mind. The earth itself hums with their presence, their unity a web spanning distances we cannot see. Scientists who study supercolonies see them as one of the greatest examples of cooperation in the natural world. To us, societies often fracture, competing for power, for land, for survival. To these ants, society extends endlessly, embracing millions upon millions in one identity. They remind us that borders are not always inevitable, that unity can spread farther than we imagine, binding lives together across landscapes. But supercolonies also carry a warning. Their success often comes at the expense of others. Native ants, once thriving, ecosystems shift beneath the pressure of their numbers. Unity brings strength, but also dominance. It is a truth as old as life. Power can nurture, but it can also overwhelm. In their vast empires, we see both wonder and caution the beauty of unity and the cost of unchecked expansion. There is peace, however, in the vision of their endless togetherness. Imagine millions of lives moving with harmony, never questioning, never divided, always certain of belonging. Their unity is complete, their devotion unshakable. To drift into sleep with this thought is to feel surrounded by countless sisters, each step of theirs carrying the strength of a civilization hidden in the soil. The lesson is soft, yet powerful. Unity has no limits when it is shared fully. The ants remind us that we, too, can build beyond our borders, beyond our divisions. If we remember that belonging is greater than separation, their supercolonies whisper a truth that spans both soil and sky, that together there is no distance too vast, no empire too great, no survival too difficult. So as the night deepens and your eyes grow heavy, let this image carry you. An invisible nation beneath the earth, stretching across fields and forests, uniting millions as one, a supercolony. Vast and eternal, bound not by walls but by scent, not by kings but by devotion. In their quiet empire, the ants remind us of the power of togetherness, and in that reminder, there is peace. Every living city must breathe. Ours do so with chimneys, fans, and windows. Ant cities, though hidden beneath soil, must also find a way to let air flow, to carry warmth and coolness, to keep life in balance. And so, though they hold no tools and no blueprints, ants have mastered one of the oldest arts of architecture, the shaping of air. Their nests are not only tunnels and chambers, they are lungs of earth, designed to inhale and exhale with the rhythms of the world above. If you were to step inside the hidden corridors of an ant nest, you would feel it, the gentle movement of air, cool against your skin. This flow is no accident. Ants carve their tunnels in careful angles, rising and falling so that currents are created naturally. Warm air drifts upward through vents, while cooler air sinks into lower chambers. Some nests even build great chimneys of soil, tall towers that catch the breeze and channel it downward, stirring circulation through the deepest halls. Others open small holes at the surface, perfectly placed to guide air like the breath of the earth itself. The result is astonishing. Even when the sun burns above, baking the ground with fierce heat, the nest remains steady and calm. Eggs do not dry, larvae do not suffocate. The queen rests in balance, safe in her chamber. When rains come and humidity rises, air still flows, carrying moisture where it is needed, protecting life from rot. All of this, achieved without plans or rulers, without a single spoken word, only the instinct of countless small lives building together. Scientists who study these structures are amazed by their elegance. To us, ventilation requires knowledge of physics, machines, and design. To ants, it comes naturally. They need no calculations, for their bodies sense heat and air, guiding them as they dig. Over time, through countless generations, their nests have become masterpieces of adaptation structures that breathe like living beings, sustaining millions through the simple, silent movement of wind. If you close your eyes now, you may imagine it. Beneath the soil, a grand cathedral of earth stretches before you, its walls glowing faintly in the dim light of imagination. The air moves gently, like a sigh, flowing through hidden passages, swirling softly around chambers filled with resting ants. You hear no sound, yet you feel the balance, the breath of the nest, steady and eternal. It is as though the city itself were alive, inhaling and exhaling, sustaining its people with every quiet current. There is beauty in this architecture of air. It reminds us that life is not sustained only by walls or food, but by the unseen, by breath, by wind, by balance. Ants, in their patience, have discovered what we, too, must remember. That to live well, one must live in harmony with the elements, shaping them gently rather than fighting them. Their nests are not fortresses, but lungs, open to the flow of the world around them. And there is a lesson here for us as well. That the invisible often matters most. We may focus on what is seen, buildings, possessions, monuments, yet it is the unseen that sustains us. The air we breathe, the bonds we share, the rhythms we cannot measure. Ants whisper this truth through their tunnels, showing us that true architecture is not only of stone or soil, but of harmony, of balance, of unseen currents flowing quietly through life. As you breathe slowly now, imagine your breath joining theirs. Inhale, exhale, as steady as the airflow through their nests. Each breath is life, each breath a reminder of balance. Just as the ants build their cities to breathe, so too do we live by the rhythms of air. And in that rhythm, there is calm, there is peace, there is the promise of rest. So, as sleep draws near, let this image soothe you. Vast underground cities breathing softly through their hidden chimneys, the air flowing gently like a lullaby. Architecture of air, built by countless small hands, sustaining life with patience and grace. In their silent wisdom, the ants remind us that every city, every being, every heart must breathe. And in that breath, there is peace. Most of the things we build crumble in time. Wooden houses weather, stone walls crack, even steel bends beneath the years. Yet beneath the soil, hidden from our eyes, ants create structures that endure. Some nests last not for a season, nor for a few years, but for decades, standing firm while generations of workers are born and die, while queens rise and fall. These are the eternal foundations of the ant world. Monuments to patience and persistence, alive long after their original builders have turned to dust. Imagine a nest first begun by a single queen. She descends into the soil, lays her eggs, and tends to her fragile young. Slowly, her first workers arrive, and together they begin to carve chambers, shaping the first corridors of a city that will grow beyond imagination. At first it is small, fragile, easy to destroy, but year by year, as the colony expands, the nest deepens, strengthens, and stabilizes. What begins as a hollow in the earth becomes a fortress, its walls hardened, its chambers multiplied, its tunnels woven into a labyrinth of life. In time, the workers who first dug those tunnels will be gone. Their bodies will have fed the soil, their strength long spent. But the nest remains. New generations take up their tools of mandibles and patience, widening the halls, repairing the walls, deepening the foundations. The queen may reign for decades, and when she passes, another may rise, chosen to continue the line. The nest does not die with her. It endures, sustained by the devotion of countless sisters who see no boundary between past and present, between life and death. The nest is more than a home. It is legacy, continuity, eternity. Scientists studying ancient nests have found structures that survived for 30, 40, even 50 years. In the quiet of the earth, they stand like cathedrals of soil, lived in by countless generations of ants who never knew the first builders. To us, they are humble mounds, perhaps no more remarkable than a patch of dirt. Yet beneath, they are temples of time, where the present rests upon the labor of the past, and where the future will continue long after the present has faded. If you close your eyes, you may picture it. A vast underground city, its walls worn smooth by generations of footsteps, its chambers polished by the constant care of countless workers. The air hums softly, carrying the scent of life, the warmth of bodies, the breath of continuity. You stand in the center, surrounded by a history you cannot see but can feel the echo of lives lived, of devotion carried across time. The nest whispers of patience, of permanence, of the quiet strength of foundations built not in haste but in faith. There is something deeply soothing in this. We live in a world where much feels fleeting, days rush past, seasons change, even our tallest buildings eventually fall. But the ants remind us that some things endure, not through power or grandeur, but through constant care. Their nests do not last because they resist change, but because they embrace it, always being repaired, always being renewed, always tended by those who inherit them. Continuity is not stillness, but movement carried across time. The lesson is gentle but clear, that what we build with devotion may outlast us, if it is cared for by those who follow. The ants remind us that legacy is not about monuments that resist decay, but about communities that continue to breathe life into what was begun. Their eternal foundations whisper a truth older than stone, that endurance is built grain by grain, carried by countless hands, shared across generations. As the night deepens and your breathing slows, let this image settle around you. Beneath the soil lies a nest older than memory. Its chambers still alive, its walls still strong. Workers move through halls carved by ancestors they will never meet. Yet they belong to the same home, the same story. The nest endures, quiet, patient, eternal, and in its persistence, there is comfort, the comfort of knowing that life, even in its smallest forms, can leave foundations that outlast time itself. So drift now into rest, carrying with you the vision of these hidden temples of earth, eternal foundations, built in silence, tended in devotion, lasting through the turning of years. In their endurance, the ants remind us that what is cared for with love may never truly fade. When we think of strength, we often imagine giants, towering figures lifting great stones, bending steel, or moving mountains. Yet in the quiet corners of the earth, true strength is carried not by giants, but by the smallest of beings. Ants, tiny enough to vanish beneath a leaf, are among the strongest creatures on our planet. Their bodies, though delicate to our eyes, hold power far beyond what seems possible. With patience and certainty, they lift objects 50 times their own weight, carrying burdens that, for us, would be like raising a car above our heads. Imagine watching a single ant moving across the ground, her body no larger than a grain of rice. In her jaws, she carries a seed many times her size, the weight of it swaying with each step. To us, the task would seem impossible, yet to her, it is simply life. She does not pause to marvel at her own power. She does not boast of the impossible. She simply walks, step after step, carrying her treasure home, guided by instinct and devotion. Her strength is not for display, but for purpose, for feeding her colony, for sustaining her queen, for nurturing the young hidden deep in the nest. The secret of this strength lies in scale. Ants are small, and in small bodies, muscles work with greater efficiency. The laws of physics bend in their favor, giving them a power-to-weight ratio that makes their feats seem superhuman to us. Yet, even knowing this, the sight of an ant carrying such a burden remains astonishing. It reminds us that greatness is not always measured by size, but by proportion, by persistence. Picture it now. A forest floor at dusk. Tiny figures move among the roots and fallen leaves. Some carry seeds larger than themselves. Others haul fragments of leaf. Others drag the remains of insects. Each one, in her own way, is a titan, a quiet giant whose strength sustains a city below. They move steadily, without hurry, without complaint. Their strength is woven into their patience, their power hidden in their humility. The forest floor becomes a parade of miracles, each step proof that even the smallest can do what seems impossible. Scientists studying ants have marveled at these feats, comparing them to humans, lifting trucks, boulders, even houses. Yet the ants perform such tasks daily, without rest, without recognition. They are born into strength, not as a gift, but as a responsibility. Every grain they lift feeds others. Every burden they bear is part of the great rhythm of the colony. Their power is not selfish, but shared, offered freely to the survival of all. There is a quiet lesson in this. True strength does not need to shout, does not seek to dominate. It is steady, humble, and devoted. The ants remind us that power is most meaningful when used not for pride, but for care. To lift for oneself is effort. To lift for many is purpose. And in their tiny bodies, ants embody this truth with every step. Close your eyes and imagine this strength within yourself. Not the power to move mountains, but the quiet resilience to carry what seems heavy, to endure what seems impossible, to move steadily forward even when the weight feels too great. Like the ant, you need not do it alone. Around you are others, each carrying, each lifting, each adding their strength to yours. Together, even the heaviest burdens can be borne. As your breathing slows, let the image of these tiny giants soothe you. Ants moving silently across the soil, each one a miracle of strength. Each one proof that greatness can be hidden in the smallest forms. Their strength beyond measure whispers gently that you, too, carry more power than you know, that what seems impossible may become possible through patience, through devotion, through the quiet courage of persistence. So drift now into rest, with the vision of ants lifting seeds like boulders, carrying treasures through forests, building worlds with their strength. Small bodies, great power, humble hearts, strength beyond measure, lived quietly beneath our feet, reminding us that the mightiest giants are sometimes the tiniest of all. Strength is one gift of the ant, but it is not their only wonder. Just as some can carry burdens far heavier than themselves, others move with a quickness so startling it seems like magic. On the forest floor, among shadows and leaves, there are ants that blur with speed, darting from one place to another before the eye can follow. For their size, they are among the fastest beings alive, able to cover hundreds of body lengths in a single second. To us, it is as though a human could sprint faster than a jet plane. This speed is not constant, but it is always ready. A desert ant, racing across burning sand, uses her swiftness to escape the heat and find her way home. A trapjaw ant, with mandibles that snap shut faster than the blink of an eye, launches herself into the air in a sudden leap, a movement so quick it defies imagination. Others dart through grasses and roots, moving like streaks of shadow, invisible but for the whisper of their passing. In these moments, ants show not only strength, but agility, the ability to adapt, to respond, to move with breathtaking precision. If you close your eyes, you may picture it. The forest floor glimmers with dew, and in the spaces between leaves, ants rush like tiny rivers of life. One darts here, another there, weaving and flowing in patterns as delicate as a dance. Their bodies shimmer in the light, their legs carrying them with a speed we can scarcely comprehend. To us, they are tiny, yet to themselves, they are lightning, flowing across the earth with the certainty of wind. Scientists who measure their movements are astonished. A Saharan silver ant, for example, can run so fast that her legs barely touch the ground, her body lifted and carried forward like a feather upon the air. Her speed is survival. For in the desert, each moment in the sun is a risk. To move quickly is to live, to find food, to return to the safety of the nest before the heat overwhelms her. Agility is not luxury, but necessity, a quiet miracle born of danger. There is beauty in this swiftness. The ants do not run for sport, nor for pride. They move with purpose, each step directed, each dash essential. Their agility is not chaos, but precision, guiding them through mazes of soil, across twigs, over stones. Their bodies bend and turn with effortless grace, weaving through spaces smaller than the eye can follow. They are dancers of the earth, their stage the forest floor, their music the silent rhythm of survival. The lesson here is gentle, that speed is not always about haste, but about knowing when to move quickly and when to be still. Ants remind us that agility is not only of the body, but of the spirit, the ability to respond, to adapt, to flow with life's changes, to be swift when swiftness is needed, and to rest when rest is wise. Their quiet wisdom lies in balance, in moving not for the sake of motion, but for the sake of harmony. As your breathing slows, let this image carry you deeper into calm. Tiny beings rushing across the earth, their movements like flashes of silver in the sunlight, like sparks in the dark. Their speed is astonishing, yet their purpose is steady. Their lives measured not in chaos, but in rhythm. They move like wind, like water, like light itself, flowing through the world with grace unseen. So drift now into rest, with the vision of ants, swift and agile, their bodies alive with movement, their lives bound to the rhythm of survival. Strength may lift, but speed carries, and in their swiftness there is beauty, there is wonder, there is peace. The world of ants is not only about strength and speed. Some among them carry a gift that seems almost playful, as though nature allowed them a moment of joy in their endless work. These are the jumping ants, small acrobats of the soil, able to hurl themselves into the air, leaping many times the length of their own bodies. To watch them is to see tiny sparks springing from the earth, graceful arcs rising and falling like dancers in a silent performance. For most ants, the ground is their realm. They walk, they run, they climb. But jumping ants have discovered another way. Sudden, startling leaps that lift them above danger or carry them quickly to prey. Some use their legs, coiled like springs, to catapult themselves upward. Others, like the trapjaw ant, use their astonishing mandibles, snapping them shut with such force that the recoil launches them backward into the air. It is not flight, but it is close, a glimpse of freedom, a moment of weightlessness, a reminder that even the smallest can touch the sky. Picture a clearing in the forest at dawn. The air is still, dew glistens on leaves, and among the roots, a group of ants moves quietly. Suddenly, one springs upward, soaring in a perfect arc, before landing softly a hand's breadth away. Another follows, leaping like a spark across the soil. Their movements are quick, sudden, and almost magical, as though the earth itself were tossing them into the air. To our eyes, they are tiny and brief, but to them, each leap is vast, a journey across space that rivals our own longest strides. Scientists measuring these leaps are astonished by their scale. A human with the same power would leap the length of a football field in a single bound, rising into the air as though gravity itself had loosened its grip. And yet the ants do this not with effort, but with ease. To them, it is simply another tool, another instinct woven into their survival. A leap to escape danger, a leap to surprise prey, a leap to move forward when walking is too slow. Agility carried to its highest expression. There is wonder in imagining such freedom. For ants, the world is often filled with obstacles. Grass towering like forests, pebbles looming like mountains. A leap carries them past these barriers in an instant. It is like flying over walls, like skipping over rivers, like stepping through the air itself. To us, it would feel like a dream, the kind where we suddenly float above the ground, rising weightless before returning gently to earth. And yet, even in their leaping, ants remain humble. They do not leap for play, nor for spectacle, but for life. Their acrobatics are acts of survival, born of necessity, shaped by millions of years of evolution. They remind us that even the most extraordinary abilities may be used quietly, woven seamlessly into the rhythm of daily existence. Their leaps are miracles, yet to them, they are simply steps. The lesson is soft and uplifting. Sometimes, the path forward is not to walk, but to leap, to trust in a moment of courage, to rise above obstacles, to let instinct carry us farther than we believed we could go. The ants remind us that even when the ground feels heavy, there may be another way, a sudden arc that lifts us beyond what seemed possible. Close your eyes and imagine yourself as one of them. The earth stretches wide around you, roots and stones blocking your path. You pause, coil your strength, and leap. For a heartbeat, you are weightless, floating in silence, your body carried by invisible wings of courage. The air is cool, the moment endless, until you touch the ground again, safe and steady, ready for the next leap. As your breathing slows, let this image guide you into rest. Tiny acrobats of the soil spring upward, their bodies rising and falling like sparks in the night. Each leap is a miracle, each arc a dream of freedom. In their silent performance, there is wonder, there is resilience, there is peace. So drift gently now, carried on the thought of leaps beyond measure, arcs through the air, steps that become flights. The ants remind us that sometimes the earth itself will carry us upward, if only we dare to leap. In the wide expanse of the desert, where sand stretches endlessly and the horizon blurs into sky, finding one's way home can seem impossible. For us, the sun may be a guide, but it moves, rising and setting, shifting its position hour by hour. Yet ants, small and unassuming, have mastered this challenge with a precision that humbles even our greatest navigators. They are travelers of the light, reading the sky as though it were a map, using the sun itself as compass and clock. Desert ants, especially those that wander across scorching sands, live in a world with few landmarks. There are no trees, no mountains, no rivers to guide them. Yet when they leave their nest to forage, they march confidently into the emptiness. They wander in twisting patterns, searching for food, sometimes hundreds of body lengths from home. And when they decide to return, they do not hesitate. They turn, lift their antennae, and stride directly back to the nest, as if the desert itself had whispered the way. The secret lies in their eyes. Ants can detect the polarization of light patterns invisible to us, created when sunlight scatters through the atmosphere. These patterns form a compass written across the sky, one that remains even when the sun is hidden behind clouds. To the ants, the heavens are filled with invisible lines, pointing home. They follow these lines with certainty, adjusting their path as the sun moves, never losing their way. Picture it now. A lone ant upon golden sand, the heat shimmering around her, her tiny shadow sharp beneath the blazing sky. She pauses, antennae raised, eyes lifted to the light. Though to us the sky appears empty, to her it is filled with signals, a celestial map only she can read. Guided by the sun, she turns, begins her march, and with unwavering steps, she returns to the safety of her nest. No trail of scent marks her path, no landmark shows her the way. Her compass is the sky itself, eternal, unerring. Scientists have marveled at this skill, calling it path integration. The ant remembers each twist and turn she made while foraging, calculating distance and direction with an accuracy that seems impossible. Combined with her reading of the sun, she holds within her tiny body a navigation system as advanced as any built by humans. And all of it unfolds silently, naturally, as she goes about her daily search for food. There is beauty in imagining these ants as voyagers, explorers of their own scale. To us, they are small, but in their journeys, they cross deserts as vast as oceans. The sun is their compass, the sky their map, the earth their ship. Each return to the nest is a triumph of memory and light, a quiet voyage completed beneath the gaze of the heavens. The lesson here is gentle but profound. Guidance may come from above, from sources we cannot touch but can trust. Just as ants follow the sun, we too may look to steady lights in our own lives, values, hopes, or dreams that remain constant even as the world shifts around us. The ants remind us that even when paths twist and the ground feels endless, there are always signs, always guides, if we lift our eyes to seek them. Close your eyes and imagine yourself as one of them. The desert stretches around you, golden and vast. The sun warms your back. The sky whispers its hidden map. You step forward with certainty, each movement guided by light, each breath a reminder that home is not lost, only waiting. The journey is long, but the compass above is true. And so, with patience, you find your way. As your breathing slows, let this vision carry you toward rest. Tiny travelers beneath a vast sky, their eyes reading secrets of light we cannot see, their steps steady upon endless sands. Navigators of the sun, voyagers of the unseen. In their quiet journeys, there is wonder, there is trust, there is peace. So drift gently now, guided by their wisdom. For just as ants find their way by the sun, so too can you trust that there are always lights above to lead you home. To walk through the desert is to walk through sameness. Dunes ripple, shadows shift, the wind erases every footprint. To us, it would feel like being lost in an endless sea of gold, each step no different from the last. Yet for ants, even here, there is memory. They do not only trust the sun and sky, they also carry in their minds a map of the very earth beneath their feet. Grains of sand, pebbles, tiny shadows all become signposts, landmarks, familiar as home itself. These are the memories of sand, written not on paper, but in the mind of the ant. Scientists have studied desert ants, watching them leave their nests to forage across open ground. At first, it seems they walk into emptiness, guided only by light, but when they return, their path is not only straight, it is precise, leading them past familiar stones, along remembered ridges, across patches of soil that look no different to us, but are distinct to them. Their eyes, though tiny, see patterns we miss. A single pebble's shadow may be a beacon. A cluster of grains may be a road. To them, the desert is not blank, but filled with memory. Picture a worker setting out from her nest at dawn. The light is low, the sand cool beneath her feet. She passes a dark stone, a cluster of dry grass, a hollow carved by wind. She does not pause, but she remembers. Each shape is etched into her mind, stored in a map she will carry back with her. Hours later, after wandering far, she turns to return. And though the desert has shifted with sun and wind, she retraces her path with certainty, guided not only by the sky above, but by the memories of sand beneath her. This memory is astonishing in scale. For us, remembering such detail would be impossible, like recalling every ripple in a sea or every star in the sky. Yet ants, with brains no larger than a grain of dust, do it effortlessly. Their minds are small, but their memories are vast, finely tuned to the patterns of their world. They do not need roads or signs, for the earth itself is their guide, each stone and shadow a marker on the path home. If you close your eyes, you may imagine the desert as the ants see it. Not empty, but alive with signs. Every grain of sand has its place. Every shadow, its meaning. The ground whispers directions. The landscape sings with guidance. It is like walking through a library where each book is open, each page marked, each story waiting to be read. The ants move through this library without hesitation, for they know every page, every letter, every grain. There is beauty in this kind of memory. It reminds us that the world is never truly empty, only filled with details we may not see. To us, a field may seem plain, a path unremarkable, but to the ants, every detail matters, every mark carries meaning. They remind us that to pay attention is to find guidance, that to notice the small is to never be lost. Their memory of sand whispers to us, look closer, and the world will show you the way. The lesson is gentle but profound. Memory is not only of grand events or shining moments, but of small details, quiet patterns, simple things that guide us when we need them most. Ants teach us that even in a desert, where all seems the same, the ground itself holds the story of home, if only we take the time to see it. As your breathing slows, let this image carry you toward rest. Imagine walking across sand, the air warm, the ground endless. Yet instead of emptiness, you see landmarks everywhere. A stone, a ripple, a hollow. Each one guides you, each one reminds you where you are, where you have been, and where you must go. The desert is no longer vast and frightening, but familiar and kind. Memory surrounds you, carried gently in the grains beneath your feet. So drift now into sleep, with the vision of ants returning home across the desert, guided by memories of sand. Tiny travelers, carrying maps in their minds, showing us that even in emptiness, there is guidance, there is memory, there is peace. The desert is a land of fire. At midday, the sand itself burns, its surface hotter than boiling water, the air shimmering with waves of heat. Most creatures hide then, buried deep in shade or soil, waiting for the sun's fury to pass. But not the ants. While others retreat, desert ants step boldly into the light, walking across a world so hot it could kill in moments. They are masters of heat, able to endure what seems unbearable, carrying on with calm resilience while the desert blazes around them. Saharan silver ants are among the most remarkable of these survivors. Their bodies gleam with a pale, silvery sheen that reflects the sun's rays, like tiny mirrors glistening upon the sand. This armor of light keeps them cool, protecting them as they race across the desert floor. They move swiftly, darting in bursts, their long legs lifting their bodies high above the burning ground. In this way, they spend mere minutes in the deadly heat, enough to forage, to feed, to survive, then vanish back into their nests beneath the soil before the desert's fire consumes them. To us, it seems impossible. At temperatures above 50 degrees Celsius, even the air itself feels heavy, each breath a struggle. Yet these ants stride with certainty, guided not by strength alone, but by timing and adaptation. They know when to emerge not too early, when predators still hunt, and not too late, when the heat turns lethal. They live on the edge of danger, walking a narrow path where survival depends on balance, precision, and courage. Picture it now. A vast desert stretching to the horizon, the ground glowing with heat, the air trembling like glass. From a tiny hole, ants emerge, their bodies shimmering silver in the blazing light. They scatter quickly, searching for food, moving with astonishing speed. A fragment of insect, a seed, a morsel left behind by the morning's life, all are gathered swiftly. Minutes pass, the sun burns brighter, and then, as if by signal, they retreat, slipping back underground, safe again in the cool of their hidden city. The desert above continues to blaze, but the ants endure. Scientists studying these creatures are humbled by their resilience. To them, the ants are not merely survivors, but teachers, showing how life adapts to extremes, how existence finds a way even in the harshest conditions. Their silvery armor, their swift legs, their perfect timing, all are reminders that survival is not about avoiding hardship, but about meeting it with grace, with adaptation, with quiet strength. There is a lesson here for us as well. Life will always bring heat, challenges that scorch, trials that overwhelm. We cannot always hide from them, but like the ants, we can learn to endure, to move with swiftness, to know when to advance and when to retreat. Their mastery of heat whispers to us. Resilience is not about resisting fire forever, but about stepping wisely, enduring briefly, and finding safety again when the moment has passed. Close your eyes and imagine walking with them across the burning desert. The ground glows beneath your feet, yet your body shines with silver light, reflecting the sun's fury. You move swiftly, lightly, without fear. Around you, the air shimmers, but you are calm, certain, resilient. Each step carries you closer to safety, each breath a reminder that even in the harshest heat, as your breathing slows, let this vision soothe you. Tiny beings shimmering like sparks of light, striding across a desert that would destroy most life. Returning home with treasures gathered in moments of danger, masters of heat, teachers of resilience, quiet giants of survival. In their footsteps, we find calm, courage, and peace. So drift now into rest, with the thought of silver ants shining under the desert sun, enduring fire with grace. Their mastery of heat reminds us that even in the fiercest trials, life can endure, and in that endurance, there is serenity. For us, rest often means long stretches of night, eyes closed, body still, drifting into dreams. But for ants, life is too constant, too urgent. They cannot all lie still together, for the colony must never be left unguarded, never cease its work. And so, they have discovered another way, a rhythm of rest without sleep, brief moments, scattered like raindrops across the day and night. In this way, the colony never stops, yet every ant finds her moment of calm. Worker ants take naps that last just a minute or two. They lie still, antennae relaxed. Then, almost as quickly, they rise again, returning to their endless duties tending to the brood, foraging for food, building, and defending. Over the course of a day, these brief rests add up, giving them what they need to endure. But because each ant rests at a different time, the colony itself is always awake. Guards remain alert, workers continue their flow, nurses tend to the young, the city of ants never sleeps, yet its citizens all find rest. The queen, however, lives differently. Her life is devoted to laying eggs, thousands upon thousands across her reign. To sustain such labor, she takes longer rests, not minutes, but stretches of nearly 10 minutes at a time, repeated throughout the day. Some queens, scientists have found, may rest for hours altogether, drifting into a deeper stillness than her workers ever know. Yet even in her slumber, the colony endures, for her daughters keep the rhythm alive. Picture it now, a nest hidden beneath the soil, alive with quiet movement. In one chamber, a worker curls still, her brief nap lasting the space of a heartbeat. Nearby, another continues her task, carrying food, grooming a larva. A little farther away, the queen lies at rest, her body calm, her breath slow. While attendants circle her gently, it is like a wave of silence passing through the colony, one ant resting, another rising, the rhythm flowing without pause. Together they breathe as one, yet never stop, never falter. There is beauty in this pattern. To us it might seem exhausting, to never truly sleep, yet for the ants, it is balance. Their lives are not measured in long nights of dreams, but in countless tiny moments of stillness, each enough to renew, each enough to continue. Their colony endures because they have learned to weave rest into motion, to scatter calm among duty, to let sleep come in fragments rather than in blocks. It is a lesson written in their rhythm, that rest need not be grand to be real. Scientists who have studied ants' rest compare it to a mosaic, countless small pieces forming a larger whole. Each nap is a fragment, a tile in the pattern of survival, and when viewed together, these fragments create something enduring. A colony that never sleeps, yet always finds rest. It is harmony built from pieces, peace woven into constant motion. The lesson is gentle, and it whispers to us. Rest does not always need to be long or perfect. A pause to breathe, a moment to sit, a fragment of stillness amid the day. The ants remind us that even in the busiest lives, rest can be found if we learn to take it in pieces, to weave it quietly into the flow of our days. Close your eyes and imagine yourself within their world. You move, you work, you tend, and then a pause. You lie still, your body calm, your breath steady. A minute passes, perhaps two. Then you rise again, renewed, ready. Around you, others do the same, their moments of rest falling like stars across the night. The colony never stops, yet it never tires, for each heart knows when to be still. As your breathing slows, let this vision carry you. Waves of rest passing through the colony, brief but endless, calm but constant. Ants finding peace not in long slumber, but in scattered pauses, weaving dreams into the rhythm of their work. Rest without sleep, harmony without stillness. A reminder that peace can be found in even the smallest moments. So drift now into your own rest, whether long or brief, carrying with you the lesson of the ants, that even in a world that never stops, there is always time to pause, to breathe, to be renewed. In their rhythm, there is wisdom. In their rest, there is peace. When we watch a single ant, she may seem small, almost insignificant, moving alone across the soil with her tiny burden. But when we step back, when we see the colony as a whole, something astonishing is revealed. Thousands, sometimes millions of ants flow together with such order, such unity, that it is as though they are not individuals at all, but parts of one great being. Scientists call this phenomenon collective intelligence, the colony acting as a single mind, a single organism, a living superentity woven from countless lives. No single ant knows the entire plan. None see the full shape of their city, nor the grand design of their trails. Each one follows simple instincts to carry, to follow, to signal, to respond. Yet when millions obey these small rules, something larger emerges. Nests that breathe like lungs, armies that fight like disciplined battalions, foraging trails that stretch like rivers across the land. The ants, together, become more than themselves. They become one. Picture it now. A stream of ants flows from their nest toward a distant tree. At first, the line is thin. But as each ant lays her trail of scent, as others follow and reinforce it, the stream thickens, quickens, grows. Soon, it is not a line but a river, rushing with certainty, splitting into branches, curving around obstacles, then merging again. No leader guides it, no voice commands it, and yet it moves with perfect sense, as though a single mind had drawn the map upon the earth. Scientists marvel at how colonies solve problems this way. When faced with choices, two paths to food, two routes around an obstacle, ants collectively decide by following the stronger scent, reinforcing the better way, abandoning the weaker. It is not a vote nor a command, but a rhythm of many small actions combining into one clear outcome. To us, it feels like wisdom, a mind larger than the sum of its parts. To the ants, it is simply life, flowing as naturally as breath. If you close your eyes, you may imagine this mind as something vast and quiet. A million tiny thoughts moving in unison, each small yet essential. It is like listening to an orchestra. No single instrument plays the symphony, but together they create music too grand for one alone. Or like gazing at the night sky. No single star makes the constellation, but together they form patterns that guide and inspire. The ants remind us that intelligence need not always belong to one, but can be shared by many, emerging in the harmony of togetherness. There is a lesson here, soft yet deep, that we too are more than individuals. Our families, our communities, our societies all move as collective minds, built from the choices and rhythms of many. Alone, our actions may seem small. Together, they create worlds. The ants whisper this truth through their unity, that strength lies not only in the self, but in the whole we build when we act as one. And there is peace in this image. Imagine yourself as part of such a flow, carried not by isolation, but by connection. Each step guided by the quiet rhythm of others around you. You need not hold the entire plan, for the plan lives in all. You need not know every answer, for the answers emerge when many share. It is a gentle reminder that you are never truly alone, for every life is part of something larger, woven together like threads in an infinite tapestry. As your breathing slows, let this vision soothe you. Rivers of ants flowing across the earth, each one small, each one vital, moving together with harmony as though guided by a single mind. A collective intelligence, silent yet profound, reminding us that unity creates wisdom, and in wisdom there is peace. So drift now into rest, carried by the thought of the ant's collective mind, vast, timeless, eternal. A superorganism beneath the soil, whispering softly of togetherness, of harmony, of peace. Across these many parts of their story, we have walked beside the ants through their hidden cities, their battles and bridges, their memories of sand, their leaps into the air, and their endless devotion to one another. We have seen them as warriors, as builders, as farmers, as navigators of sky and earth. And through it all, one truth shines brighter than any other. Ants endure, not because of strength alone, nor speed, nor numbers, but because they are never alone. Their greatest gift, their final lesson, is unity. For more than 100 million years, ants have walked this earth. They were here when dinosaurs roamed, and they remain now, scattered across every continent but Antarctica. They have survived deserts of fire, forests of rain, floods, predators, and change beyond imagining. While countless other creatures have vanished into history, ants remain, thriving in silence beneath our feet. Their secret is simple. They do not live for themselves, but for the whole. Each life, no matter how brief, is part of a greater rhythm, a song that has played across ages. Picture a colony at dusk. The day's work is done, and the trails grow quiet. Workers return with food. Soldiers stand watch. The queen rests in her chamber, surrounded by her daughters. In every tunnel, every chamber, there is calm. Each ant has given her strength, her time, her small part, and together they have endured another day. The nest is alive, not as countless individuals, but as one, a living organism woven of many, breathing with patience, glowing with devotion. It is in this image that the ants reveal their greatest wisdom. Scientists call this the superorganism, a society so tightly bound that it acts like a single being. To us, it may seem strange, even alien, but there is something deeply familiar here too. For we too are strongest when we act together, when we share, when we care, when we remember that we belong not only to ourselves, but to one another. The ants, in their silence, remind us that unity is not weakness, but the greatest strength of all. If you close your eyes now, you may feel their lesson echoing softly in your own life. Every step you take leaves a trail for others. Every act of care becomes part of a larger story. Alone, our lives may feel small, fragile as grains of sand, but together they weave into something greater, a colony, a community, a world sustained not by power, but by connection. This is the whisper of the ants, that no burden is too heavy when it is shared, no path too long when it is walked together. And so, as our journey with them comes to its close, we can carry their wisdom with us. And above all, be united. For in unity lies the strength to endure whatever time may bring. In the footsteps of ants, we find not only survival, but serenity, not only labor, but harmony. As the night deepens and your breathing slows, let this final image soothe you. Beneath the quiet earth, a colony hums softly, eternal in its rhythm. Tiny lives move with purpose, guided by devotion, sustained by togetherness. They have endured for millions of years, and they will endure for millions more. In their silence, they carry a lesson for us all, that strength is not in standing alone, but in walking together. So rest now, with the gentle knowledge that even the smallest creatures carry wisdom vast as the stars. The ants remind us that life, at its heart, is about connection to each other, to the earth, to the rhythms that guide us, and in that connection, there is peace.